I reincarnated as the absolute strongest man in a female-dominated world. Out there, women are born 10 times stronger than men, and literally every family, school, and government office treats that biological fact as law. I learned this harsh rule at 18, drugged and pinned down by Tatum Royce, a rich heiress who thought a guy's consent was completely optional. Tatum grabbed for me again, but I tapped into 3 centuries of sword cultivation to easily throw her off balance. Then I just walked out. The name's Derek Callahan. This weak body belonged to a high school senior with almost zero aura, leaving my knees shaking from that tiny burst while Tatum glared from the floor. One of her guards shadowed me, recording with her phone and texting Tatum, and I was just too exhausted to stop her. Out in Granite Bay, women patrolled and unloaded trucks, while men handled receipts and waited for escorts. History called them protected husbands. Tatum fit this twisted rule perfectly. My host's memories pulled me toward a house across town, so I followed the familiar trail. My father opened the door wearing an apron. He noticed my bruised wrist, pulled me inside, and frantically asked if a woman had followed me. "You cannot walk alone at night," he warned. I hugged him, my host's memories already recognizing this gentleman as family. Upstairs, my older sister Jillian Callahan screamed when I opened her bedroom door, slamming her laptop shut and demanding some privacy. Women need educational material too, right? That pause screen looked highly educational. I quietly shut the door. "Quiet down," I muttered. Jillian laughed. Warm reunion over. At dinner, my mother handed Jillian some cash to enjoy her night, then turned to me, warning me to stay inside, protect my skin, and marry rich. I hugged her anyway, making her instantly reach for her purse to ask how much I needed. Honestly, that hurt worse than Tatum's drug. My future belonged to whoever bought the ring. Talk about being treated like a total decoration, right? But touching my family? That would get a brutal answer. Upstairs, thousands of love letters literally overflowed my drawers. The original Derek was poor, quiet, and dangerously handsome, pretty tragic. I shoved the letters aside and tried gathering some aura. My soul-bound sword vibrated once, then went completely silent. It had crossed worlds with me, but this weak body couldn't fully wake it yet. Suddenly, Jillian's phone called mine, but a strange woman's voice answered instead. A gang leader gave me a sketchy address and one cold demand. "Bring the cash alone, or Jillian leaves in a body bag." Right then, my culture shock completely ended. I grabbed the ransom money. Taking my mother's emergency cash, I headed to a back room behind a rundown, closed nightclub. 3 tough-looking women guarded the entrance. 6 more waited inside, where Jillian sat tied to a chair with a bloody, split lip. Their blue-haired leader grabbed my bag, counted the cash, and cut her loose. Then she blocked my path, telling me that my sister could go, but I had to stay. "A face like mine covers the trouble," she smirked. The thugs laughed as Jillian froze, so I stepped directly in front of her. She smirked, calling me a good boy with actual guts. Then I slapped her hard, snapping her head completely sideways. The room went dead silent. "You kidnapped my sister," I warned. "So, keep talking and you'll negotiate with far fewer teeth." She swung first, fully expecting her raw strength to settle it. I read her shoulder, slipped inside the punch, and drove my elbow deep into her ribs. When another grabbed my shirt, I smashed her into the table. As 2 more rushed me, I dropped the first and used her body to block the second. The last 2 charged from opposite sides. I kicked one straight into the wall and slammed the other across the table. Then the 3 door guards finally charged inside. With 3 centuries of elite combat experience, I slammed the first guard, swept the second, and kicked the third clean across the room. Every single thug was down, and Jillian stopped cowering to stare in shock as their leader crawled toward the cash. I stepped on the strap, warning her that the cash belonged to my family. But watch out, because she immediately pulled a handgun. The barrel was pointed right at me. Suddenly, the door swung open, and Tatum Royce walked in with 6 armed guards, including the rat from earlier. Seeing Tatum, the leader quickly lowered her gun. Tatum's guards rested their hands on their holsters, scanning the room where every single thug was already defeated. Tatum looked at Jillian's bruises, then at the gun pointed at me. "Drag her out," Tatum ordered coldly. "She doesn't leave alive." 2 guards immediately dragged the gang leader away. The thugs I beat down stayed completely flat on the floor. Tatum casually crossed the room, hooked one finger under my chin, and announced that I was Derek, her 36th boyfriend. Jillian's mouth fell wide open. I slapped Tatum's hand away, mocking that her first 35 guys clearly failed to teach her rejection. Tatum just smiled. "You escaped once, but now you've lost," she whispered. Her guards instantly tightened their circle. Sure, I could take a few, but this weak body would give out before I could clear the room. So, playing by the rules she trusted most, I pointed at the table. "Arm wrestle me," I challenged. "If you win, I go with you. If I win, Jillian and I walk out." Tatum immediately sat down. Tatum locked hands with me, whispering to try not to cry. Boyfriend 36. She told me to remember her name before the guard yelled start. She forced my arm halfway down. The wood groaned, my shoulder screaming as her smile widened. But then, I tapped the hidden aura channel right behind my wrist. Tatum froze. She leaned in harder, her smile completely vanishing as I twisted my wrist and slammed her hand flat against the hard wood. A loud crack echoed. Jillian stared at me, looking like her brother had been swapped during a ransom exchange. Fair assessment, honestly. The guards looked from Tatum's pinned hand straight to my face. Two smirking guards immediately stood at attention. Tatum kept her palm pinned to the table for 3 incredibly tense seconds, and then, she just laughed. It was the laugh of a woman flirting with a dangerous new problem. One guard stepped forward. When a guard suggested chasing me, Tatum slapped her hard, spinning her around. He beat me under my own rules, Tatum snapped, demanding respect. The guard lowered her head, which Jillian definitely noticed. Tatum stood up and circled me slowly, noting that while my technique was pretty clever, my weak body still needed major work. She insisted I needed protection, warning that my attitude would attract trouble. I just gestured toward the broken room. Seems like that trouble is having a much worse night, I muttered. Jillian hid a quick laugh. Tatum's eyes narrowed. Do you think one little win changes how the world works? Honestly, worlds learn slowly, but people learn from impact. Looking at the cracked wood, Tatum stepped closer. Men in this city live longer, she murmured, because women protect them. They inherit comfort, avoid blood, join a powerful family and never struggle again. Beside me, Jillian shifted. She had heard that speech treated as basic common sense her whole life. I stared toward the door where the gang boss had run. That woman used those exact rules when pricing my sister. I told Tatum that protection becomes ownership the second my answer stops mattering. Her jaw tightened. Check this out for the first time. Her guards looked incredibly tense. When she reached for my wrist, I caught her hand. Looking down at our hands, her curious interest grew as she murmured that I do not scare very easily. I have centuries of practice, I slipped. Jillian whipped around instantly. Tatum froze. I let go of her hand. A mere figure of speech, I tried to lie. Terrible save, but honestly, reincarnation completely ruined my social skills. She smirked, saying she had another reason to investigate me. At least I won our freedom. But now she was tracking me. Jillian stepped between us, demanding that we leave. Tatum studied my sister's bruised face, then slowly nodded. Nobody touches either of them, Tatum commanded Callahan. Anyone who forgets will answer directly to me. The remaining thugs nodded quickly. I hated her possessive wording, but I still used her protection to get Jillian out of there safely. Tatum followed us into the hallway, claiming I would eventually choose her. I told her I was choosing the exit. She smirked, saying I would tire of fighting. Well, the world better pace itself. Jillian let out a choked laugh. A guard rushed up to Tatum before we reached the exit. The guard whispered that Tatum's family was already making their move right now. Instantly, her playful look completely vanished. Her hand clenched tightly over the fresh table bruise on her palm, staring back at me as if she desperately wanted to say something else. You know things are getting serious when she suddenly leaves with half her guards, clearly sensing a massive threat. But whatever was waiting at home had instantly killed her fun. Before walking away, she pointed at Jillian's ransom bag. Keep it, she said, her family would cover the cost. I shook my head, telling her we paid for my sister ourselves. Tatum looked genuinely offended. Rich as she was, money had probably solved every awkward situation in her life. Realizing money could not buy me, she offered to at least drive us both home. Jillian spoke first, reminding her I literally just fought her to leave. Tatum looked at her and smiled. Please do not, Jillian dryly replied. For once, they both listened when I pointed toward separate exits. Tatum left for her crisis. We walked outside. Freezing air hit my dry aura channels, nearly folding my weak legs. Jillian grabbed my arm, teasing that I beat 9 powerhouse women, only to lose to stairs. The stairs cheated, I grumbled. Supporting me, she asked when I got terrifying. I just remembered how to fight. She glanced sideways. She definitely heard me say centuries. Great, my only witness is also the worst person at minding her business. I will explain when I figure out what is safe. She accepted that for barely 4 seconds. Fine, she shrugged. I will marry you off to Tatum and interrogate your rich wife later. I just won my freedom, and my sister is drafting wedding invitations. Wait, she drugged me? Jillian suddenly winced. Then skip the ceremony and keep the gifts, she joked. That quick moral recovery was pretty impressive, trained right at dinner. The joking completely stopped the second she touched her split lip. I just held her tight and kept walking. I can handle being weak, hungry, or laughed at. But anyone who touches my family is begging for a painful lesson. Right at our front gate, my knees finally gave out. Thankfully, Jillian was there to catch me once again. My inner soul sword stays quiet. Jillian glances over. You do not remember whole centuries by accident. Tatum and her family drama are still lurking somewhere behind us. I earned my right to refuse. Now I need power to make it stick. Back home, I sit down to rebuild all the aura I burnt through while dealing with Tatum Royce. My hands still feel that table. My shoulder still hurts from losing the first half. Suddenly, Jillian peeks in, eyeing my torn sleeve. Jillian asks if my rich girlfriend did that. I remind her we are not together. My sister nods with fake seriousness. Sure, she only drugged you, rescued us, claimed you, and threw a marriage audition. Winning a simple arm wrestle has the same paperwork, just a different table. Jillian asks if I need help changing. Slamming the door in her face counts as sisterly support. Next morning, it is back to school at Granite Bay. Jasper Coleman, running up, my normal school friend grabs my sleeve. Derek, your skin looks totally awful, Jasper warns. Did some girl stress you out again? His sweet, worried energy still feels incredibly weird to my old school instincts. He is just being sweet. I survived, I tell him. Relieved, he hands over some concealer. Classic Jasper. Right then, our shy class president, Bethany Sutton, brings over snacks because she noticed I skipped breakfast. Eat up before you pass out, Bethany tells me. She drops the food on my desk and flees immediately. Another girl sees the food and treats it like a total declaration of war. She slams a love letter down. Answer mine first. She grabs my collar and fiercely commands me to read it right now. Now check this out. I smack her hand away, punching her straight into the next desk. Dead silence follows. Apparently, rejection means throwing hands in this place. Before she can swing, Tatum's younger brother, Colin Royce, steps right between us. He was the same classmate who arranged my ride home the day before. Just hearing his family name makes the girl stop instantly. Colin turns to me. Derek, can we talk privately? He asks. In the empty stairwell, Colin bows his head. I asked Tatum to drive you. I didn't know she drug you. I only found out after you escaped, he says. His guilt seems real. Plus, it matches my host's memories of him. You made a bad call, I tell him. She did the crime. Never hand me to her again. Colin nods fast. Apology accepted. Real trust will take time. After school, Tatum blocks the curb with a massive black luxury car. She is even more determined now. The walking red flag opens the door. Get in, Derek. No. Tatum rests one hand on the roof. Your parents own a small business, and small businesses break easily. I get in because my family is on the line. I grab the expensive ornament off her dashboard and smash it onto the floor. Tatum silently stares at the shattered pieces. Just friendship damage, she says. Send the bill to boyfriend 35. Her mouth twitches. You keep breaking expensive things around me, and you keep making expensive mistakes. Then, Tatum offers a deal. She will protect my parents' business if I agree to be her friend. Honestly, her idea of friendship needs serious police supervision. I accept this temporary deal solely because my parents need a shield. Smiling, Tatum starts up the engine. Who trained you? She suddenly asks. My team checked your history, and yesterday you were just a quiet kid with zero fighting skills. Yet last night, you beat professional fighters. Her background checks have already hit a massive wall of impossible facts. I look out the windshield. Maybe your records are lazy. Tatum only smiles. But get ready, a massive truck suddenly fills the windshield. It crossed the median at absolute full speed. I instantly throw myself over Tatum as metal crushes the front. Glass shatters across my back, throwing my ribs right into the console. The cabin twists. Tatum shoves the door, but it has folded completely shut. Channeling aura into my arm, I tear the latch free and kick the bent door into the road. I lift Tatum and carry her out. My own legs nearly fail me. Tatum catches my waist before I collapse. For once, she is not flirting. Shards of glass stick out of my shoulder. Tatum rips her silk scarf off, pressing it against the wound. You are hurt because of me, she mutters. That ride cost $400,000. Then it had a highly expensive last day. Her laugh is shaky, the smirk is gone, and her bloody scarf makes the danger real. The truck was just the opening act now. 6 armed women leap from the shadows. They all wear matching black crests on their sleeves. Tatum shoves me back and greets the lead assassin with a hard punch. I literally just carried her out of a car crash, and she is still trying to shield me. Pretty stubborn, but a real fighter. Suddenly, 3 wrap around her. Another rushes me with a machete, expecting a wounded guy to just run away. I dodge the blade, trap her elbow, and smash the heavy handle right into her throat. That weapon changes hands before she even hits the asphalt. A second attacker sneaks up on my blind side. I flash sunlight off the metal into her eyes and slice her sleeve open to reveal the crest. Tatum spots the mark too. She shatters her opponent's guard and throws another flat across the car hood. I use the flat side of my stolen blade to knock out the last one. Their getaway driver tries speeding off, but Tatum rips the door open and drags her out. The highway goes completely dead silent, save for hissing coolant. Tatum stares right at my bloody shoulder. "You protected me," she says, wrapping my scarf tighter. I call her a liar, which is pretty bold considering she is a stalker. Before she can snap back, her phone rings. It is a guard. Her mother just collapsed during a sudden raid at their family mansion. They found that exact same black stitched crest right beside her bed. Tatum's face goes totally pale. She calls in a cleanup crew and heads for a backup security car. I simply start walking away. I tell her to go handle her family drama, but Tatum grabs my arm. Her hand is trembling. She whispers that her mom was targeted at this exact second. She says her aunt already seized the house. If her mom dies, that aunt inherits the entire family. The identical crests and matching timing show perfect coordination. One strike team hits the air outside while another takes out the boss. The true mastermind is still a mystery. Ironically, Tatum was threatening my own parents less than an hour ago. Now she is standing by a ruined car, completely terrified for her mom. I gently pull her hand off my sleeve and hold it. As a sword cultivator, I learned to read inner energy meridians. Wounded warriors almost never survive long enough to see a doctor. "Take me to her," I say. "I can detect internal wounds normal doctors will miss." Tatum looks at me, wondering why I would help. "Simple," I tell her. "Your mom did not drug me." Tatum sighs, then opens the car door for me. But first, I quietly channel a thread of energy into her bracelet. If she ever falls into deep danger, that trace will weaken and trigger a warning right back to me. Tatum inspects her wrist with a smirk, teasing that now I am the one stalking her. I tell her it is for emergencies only. That call proved the highway ambush was only half the trap. Tatum speeds us straight to the massive Royce estate. But right in the main entrance hall, heavily armed guards step up to block us. "The boss is resting," a guard announces, claiming the aunt ordered no visitors. Tatum snaps back that she is literally the woman's daughter. The guard glares at me, declaring that a male is absolutely forbidden from entering the private wing. So they block the one guy who can save their boss over a silly rule. Honestly, you are going to love what he does next. Tatum calls me a doctor, which gets a laugh. So I point at the leader's left knee, telling her it locks up every third step. I tell her she hides it by angling her foot. Her smile vanishes, and I face the second guard. I reveal her right hand goes totally numb at night, making her drop her weapon twice this week. The second guard quickly hides her hand. Neither woman can deny the truth I just exposed. The first guard quickly backs down and opens the door. Suddenly, Tatum's aunt walks in, making every guard stand at attention. Her arrogant daughter is right beside her, smiling directly at me. The aunt sneers that I am no doctor. She calls me Tatum's latest plaything. Her daughter steps up with a smug grin, asking to test my skills. If she wins, I apparently spend the night with her. Tatum clenches her fists in rage, but I just raise one finger and accept. If I win, they leave with the aunt. The cousin agrees, then cheaply attacks before the match even begins. Truly pathetic. Even worse timing. I catch her wrist, redirect her momentum, and launch her body flying straight across the grand hall. She crashes into a sofa, flips completely over it, and stays down. The mocking guards instantly look away in pure shame. I smirk at the cousin. I suggest she spends her night with a bag of ice instead. Tatum chuckles, while the furious aunt rushes to her daughter, pointing at us. She warns that Monica cannot protect her forever. Tatum calmly steps right between her aunt and me. Tatum snaps back that she only needs 5 minutes with me. The aunt orders the guards to move, but absolutely nobody budges. Defeated, the aunt carries her daughter out alone. Inside the bedroom, Tatum runs straight to Monica Royce, her poisoned mother. Monica lies pale under thick blankets. Creeping dark veins branch out from a bad wound near her ribs. Tatum falls to her knees and takes her mother's weak hand, her tough act totally gone. I stop playing around and inspect the injury. Standard medicine closed the flesh, but a hostile energy is slowly eating her alive from the inside. Monica opens her eyes and weakly waves everyone out. Tatum stayed by the door while Monica studied me. She asked if the Prescott family sent me. "They are the rival family most likely to hire specialists," she said. Her suspicion fit the attack, but it proved nothing. I answered that I came with Tatum. "Your wound will destroy your organs within 5 days." Tatum stopped breathing. Monica pushed the blanket aside to expose the black mark, asking if I could remove it. Partly, yes. The rule was brutal. Foreign curse energy needed somewhere compatible to go. My old meridian path could hold it, but my mortal body might fail. Monica watched my hand, asking what it would cost me. "Enough to make this interesting." I placed my palm over the wound and pulled. Black energy crawled into my fingers like freezing wire. My arm locked, and the room blurred. Tatum grabbed my shoulder, but I told her to get back. The black mark shrank, bit by bit. Monica's breathing deepened as color returned to her lips. Tatum pressed 2 fingers to her mother's wrist. Tatum's eyes widened as the pulse steadied. The curse fought every inch, tightening around my wrist and pushing toward my chest. I quickly sealed 2 meridians and dragged one final strand free, stopping before the curse could reach my heart. Monica sat upright without help. Tatum laughed in disbelief and covered her mouth. Monica offered money, land, and favors. I asked for time and herbal ingredients instead. Then Tatum hugged me tight, begging me to stay tonight. "We are just friends," I reminded her. Monica looked at her daughter's tight grip and laughed, calling us just friends. She joked about ordering wedding invitations. There it was again, every denial in this world somehow generated paperwork. I slipped out before that sick room turned into a forced engagement or another hostage situation. Outside the estate, sharp pain stabbed through my palm. The curse left Monica, but a black knot remained under my skin. Back in my old world, a single elixir would dissolve this easily. But here in Granite Bay, I had no rare ingredients, no furnace, and zero clues who sold spiritual medicine. Monica had only 5 days when I walked in. Now, I bought her time, transferring that deadly countdown to my own hand. Now here is the crazy part: by the next morning, that throbbing curse in my palm forced me to seek out alchemy. My search at Granite Bay Academy crossed paths with Avery Henson, the school's star basketball player. By nightfall, 5 ugly rocks would be worth more than the luxury car that almost killed me. First, I had to face a girl I loved in another life. Avery was also the heir to a massively powerful family. She glided across the court like she owned the place. Honestly, that insane confidence of hers had completely ruined my focus in my past life, too. Long before I spent centuries cultivating, I lived a completely ordinary life. Avery was my first crush, and the first woman I ever truly loved. But this Avery remembered absolutely none of it. She stopped mid-drill and stared right at me, asking if we had met. "Maybe you just have excellent instincts," she noted, bouncing the ball once. "Or you stare way too much. Both can be true." Her mouth curved into a smirk. She was both curious and suspicious, a terrible combination for my privacy. Avery tossed me the ball and proposed a wager. If she won, I had to stop looking at her like I knew a secret. And if I win, I asked. Avery planted her sneaker on the court line, saying I would get one request. I asked if boyfriend fell inside that fine print. "Win first, lawyer later," she smirked. The nearby students formed a circle immediately. Gossip around here worked way faster than school internet. Avery scored easily on the first possession. She was way faster than my current body, easily shouldering me aside. As the crowd cheered, Avery spun the ball on one finger, asking if I was still reading the fine print. I told her I found a loophole. On the next drive, I locked onto her hips, shoulders, and lead foot. Those 3 tells gave away her move right before the ball even followed. I cut across her lane and swatted the ball straight into the wall. Avery's eyes went completely wide. "Just look at this move. My aura actually lifted me 6 inches higher than this fragile body ever deserved." I threw down a 2-handed dunk. The rim rattled, and the gym fell dead silent. Then came the absolute chaos as Jasper nearly dropped his phone. Bethany froze with her snack bag half open. Even 2 girls who ignored me all semester started screaming over who called that insane play first. Under the basket, Avery could only stare. The school's ultimate goddess had just lost her own court to a supposedly fragile, quiet kid. Beautiful, but terrible for my privacy. I returned the ball, stating my only request was dinner. Avery stepped up close and whispered that I needed to get stronger first before asking her properly. Classic delay tactic, telling me to level up. I respected her hustle. Later that evening, I returned to the Royce estate to continue treating Monica. Pulling out each strand of curse energy forced my meridians wider. It was incredibly painful, but highly effective. My spiritual body, the core structure holding my aura, recovered faster simply because this hostile energy gave it something violent to process. Tatum watched my blackened palm and realized saving her mother was actually making me stronger. I told Tatum her family finally found a healthy way to stalk me. Leaning against the bedpost, she promised she could make it way less healthy. Monica opened one eye and called us children. We quickly stepped apart. Turns out a half-cursed family head can still easily ruin the mood. My viral basketball dunk video finally reached Calvin Prescott, their incredibly entitled heir. By the next afternoon, Calvin was waiting outside the school gym with 4 guards, acting like their marriage proposal meant Avery was already his property. He pointed a finger at me, ordering me to stay away because Avery was marrying him, speaking like she had already signed her life away. The guy never even asked what she wanted, so I told him flat out that she has not agreed to marry him. Calvin sneered that someone like me does not decide this, right as his guard grabbed my shoulder. I broke her grip, swept her legs, and slammed the next guard into a brick wall. The third hesitated, making Calvin scream to break my arm now. Instead, I dropped that third guard, caught Calvin's punch, and twisted his arm until he knelt. I warned him never to say Avery's name like property again, or I would show his family what a failed purchase looks like, while he tried to kick me from the pavement. Honestly, no idea what he expected. I just slammed him face first into the hard pavement. The final guard backed away. Calvin's arrogant marriage claim ended with him kneeling right outside Avery's school gym. That massive overreaction proved the Prescott marriage proposal was about way more than romance, so I asked Tatum to look into Avery's family and the deal Calvin was enforcing. She sent some cash for a professional investigator, then added a savage message telling me to buy better clothes. Naturally, I spent that money on actual information instead. My contact was Mira Lowell, a pretty sharp freelance hacker and broker. She had already researched the mysterious kid from that viral basketball video. When I called, Mira answered that if this was the handsome dunk guy, flirting would cost extra, so I told her I just needed family intel. We met that evening at a barbecue joint. Mira showed up with pink hair, an oversized hoodie, and the tired eyes of someone sleeping beside 3 monitors. Honestly, she looked way too cute for a woman who sold dirty old money secrets by the hour. She caught me looking and offered a cute client discount, which hilariously raised the bill by 20%. Jokes and invoices are a dangerous combination, and she casually explained the whole crisis between bites. The Henson family relied on a single refining formula for their medicine business, but the Prescotts stole it, pressured suppliers, and then forced marriage as a rescue. When I noted Calvin wants both Avery and the company, Mira simply lifted her glass. Greed loves a bundle deal, right? She also confirmed that hidden martial families practice 2 forms of alchemy. While normal labs refined chemicals, Aura users refined energy through rare vessels and mineral cores, which was exactly what my cursed hand needed. When I asked for black market suppliers, Mira named a massive fee that would completely wipe out my new bank balance. Then she offered a bargain, saying if I bought dinner, she would throw in those dangerous contacts, and I agreed. Mira ordered 6 plates of pork belly, 2 sides, and a whole pitcher of beer, while the waiter gave me iced tea after checking my age twice. In this world, women fought, led powerful families, and apparently treated potential liver damage as standard leadership training. 3 drinks later, Mira's jokes slowed, and she admitted that a guy once rejected her for being poor. Her voice shook as she asked me if I actually liked her, or if I just liked the things she knew. I told her I liked that she charged me before getting emotional, calling it professional, which made her laugh before collapsing against my shoulder. I carried her to her apartment, tucked her in, and left some water, since she had given me the intelligence I needed. Right before passing out, Mira pointed at her unlocked computer. She told me to search whatever I needed but not delete her games, so I checked the Henson records in Griffin Reserve Auction House. 30 seconds, that's all it took. Spirit stones were almost extinct, meaning elite families paid crazy prices for stable aura cores. Luckily, my method could charge ordinary mineral cores. It would drain my energy, but that money could protect my family and buy the ingredients Monica desperately needed. With Mira's information providing a viable market, I went straight home and tried to manufacture my own spirit stones. After buying 5 ugly mineral cores from a construction supplier, I infused aura into them one by one. The first cracked, and the second burned my fingers. By the 5th attempt, my vision pulsed with every single heartbeat as the black knot in my palm recoiled, forcefully curling my fingers shut. My knees hit the floor as the room blurred, but 5 fully charged cores now sat right beside me. I could either sell them or use them to recover, but my body couldn't afford both. By the next evening, I finished treating Monica. Slowly, I pulled the final curse strand from her deep wound. Monica stood up, rolled her shoulders, and accidentally crushed the wooden arm of a chair, instantly making her guards tense up as she stared at the splinters. Perfect. Now it is time to find the thugs who did this. Monica finally got her strength back, and her attackers have a brand new problem. Outside the room, Tatum catches me off guard and kisses me before I can even dodge. She pulls back with a pretty satisfied smile. She tells me that is just the first part of my reward, and honestly, her timing was absolutely perfect. Tatum opens her mouth to promise even more, but a guard suddenly summons her to an urgent family meeting. Of course, family drama ruins the moment. So, our little flirting session has to wait. Back home that night, I absorbed the energy from Monica's curse and smashed right past my first cultivation barrier. Inside me, the soulbound sword wakes up. Glowing golden runes flash across my skin. Raw energy tears through the room, completely burning away my clothes before gathering above my palm as a sharp, narrow blade. This legendary weapon had crossed entire worlds just to find me. But then, Jillian opens the door and sees me naked, glowing, and holding a golden sword. Jillian slowly backs away, telling me she supports my self-discovery, but she really prefers locked doors. I slam the door shut with my aura, yelling that it is indeed a sword. But honestly, losing an argument to your sister right after awakening an ancient weapon? Classic. As the surge ends, the golden weapon compresses into a small necklace resting against my chest. My spiritual body was finally awake, and my oldest partner was back. Next morning, I take 5 charged mineral cores to the Griffin Reserve auction house. Enter Ronan Griffin, the white-haired auctioneer. He meets me after a clerk literally laughs at the ugly yellow stones in my hand. Ronan picks one up with 2 fingers, asking if I came to sell landscaping gravel. Suddenly, the core releases a quick pulse of energy. Ronan stops smiling instantly, jumping up so fast, his chair slams right into the wall. He asks how many. I say 5. Ronan quickly locks his door, offering $1 million for all 5. Just yesterday, these stones were considered complete trash. Today, a top auctioneer is guarding the door from his own staff. I am really starting to love ugly things. Naturally, I accept. Ronan transfers the funds and asks for first dibs on my very next batch. When he asks where I got them, I stay quiet. He grins, admitting that secretive suppliers tend to live much longer. Ronan instantly offers me a private entrance, a direct line, and total protection. He literally started our meeting laughing at gravel. Now he is opening doors his exclusive clients wait years to touch, making that first million feels incredibly good. More importantly, this money secures food, medicine, and protection for my family. But just as I step outside, an assassin is waiting. Heavy rain had completely emptied the side street. Suddenly, he steps out of an alley with a short blade, aiming straight for my throat. He expected a weak student carrying cash. Instead, I summon my soul sword as 3 brilliant golden lines. The lines block his blade just inches from my skin. The killer quickly changes angles, but I read the shift, slash his wrist, and slam him hard against the wall. He kicks off the bricks, launching a hidden needle at my eye. I quickly turn the soul sword flat to block. The needle sparks away, and his confidence completely vanishes. He expected a terrified, weak student, but now my soul sword blocks his only exit. I ask who sent him. He just laughs through grit teeth, naming Calvin Prescott. The hitman grins, saying Calvin called me a pretty schoolboy. It seems Calvin moved from hiring guards to full-on murder after I humbled him. When the assassin reaches for another weapon, I end the fight with one clean, decisive strike. Game over. He falls, completely still. I literally just made my first million, and now we are dealing with professional killers. The Prescott family is done sending loudmouth punks. They want me dead. Period. The first assassin lies dead at my feet, but fighting him fully drained the same aura channels holding Monica's curse. Suddenly, the black knot in my palm surges up my arm. Every meridian burns, and I collapse against the brick wall, gasping for air. Before I can clear the auction alley, the black curse reaches my shoulder. My vision is pulsing heavily. The soul sword flickers in and out of my grip. Every aura channel I open to fight the assassin begins locking up at once. A hospital would definitely ask too many questions about my aura-filled blood. Instead, I drag myself to Miralel's apartment, and she opens it in a baggy sleep shirt. Her hair is wild. Seeing my blackened arm, Mira immediately catches me right before my knees hit the floor. She asks what happened, and I gasp that the assassin lost. Mira warns I am burning up as the curse surges again. Heat rips through my chest, so I grab the nearest steady thing. That happens to be Mira, and I kiss her. Mira immediately braces her hands against my chest and pushes me back, ordering me to look at her and asking if I am choosing this or just burning alive. I try to answer, but my jaw is completely locked. Mira gets her answer, sitting me against the wall and putting water in my hand. Mira stays out of reach until my eyes finally focus. I spend the next hour forcing the dark curse back below my elbow. The curse settles back into my palm, looking ugly as ever. Once I can finally speak, Mira sits across from me, and I quietly apologize. I explain that the kiss was just the fever talking. Mira watches my face, answering that now she is clear enough to ask. I hold out my hand, asking if she wants me here. Mira slowly places her hand in mine, saying yes as she tightens her grip. Then she kissed me again, and yeah, we spent the night together by choice. But by morning, Mira had stolen my pillow and my business excuse. That hacker sure knows how to negotiate aggressively. The next morning, it was back to school because apparently murder doesn't excuse your attendance. The curse still sat under my skin. But my thoughts? Finally my own again. Before lunch, Avery Henson showed up at my classroom door. I had beaten the basketball star on her own court, and she wanted answers. Avery leaned in close and literally sniffed my collar. Her eyes narrowed immediately. You smell like another woman. These Granite Bay girls treat perfume like forensic evidence. I defended myself by saying soap has just gotten politically complicated. She hooked 2 fingers around my wrist, demanding we have lunch together. I let her drag me out, then turned my hand and locked fingers with hers. Avery's ears turned bright red. She kept walking anyway. Our school goddess can dunk through heavy traffic, but handholding completely broke her. At the restaurant, I ordered her favorite noodles from my past life. She asked how I knew. I just smiled, claiming excellent instincts while she frowned. She complained that excuse was getting lazy. I just pointed at her bowl. She still took that first bite and loved the broth. When she asked if I had been watching her, I told her only when she is worth watching. She lifted her chin. She said to keep up. Suddenly, two women in heavy coats sat right behind her. One held a hidden blade while the other watched her reflection. Get ready, because things are about to go completely wild. Avery's smile died. Why? As she asked, the first killer drew steel. She lunged at Avery's back. I instantly threw the bowl into her face, blinding her with hot broth and noodles before the blade could connect. The second killer came from my right. I yanked Avery behind me and took the blade along my ribs. Blood soaked my shirt. I grabbed the attacker's wrist and slammed it into the table. Then I kicked her partner into the wall before she could even clear the noodles. Instantly, the first woman reached for a backup knife. I smashed a chair into her knees. The other killer broke free, targeting Avery. Wrong move. Worst decision ever. I caught her elbow, pinned her arm across the table, and smashed her face into the untouched noodle bowl. Both killers stayed down. Avery stood over them with my blood on her hands, pressing a napkin to my ribs as the restaurant noise slowly returned. Who are you? Avery demanded. I met her eyes. I am just someone who wasn't letting that blade reach you. Avery pressed harder. Derek, I don't just belong to some local martial family, I told her. She pressed harder against my wound, pointing out that I knew her favorite food, spotted the killers, and took a knife meant for her. I feel like I've known you forever. Avery froze. I'd take a bullet for you. Today it was just a knife, I told her. Avery dragged me into a private booth and locked the door. She explained that the Prescott family stole the refining formula keeping her family's medicine business alive. They are choking their suppliers and forcing marriage as a cure. Calvin's speech was part of the takeover. Avery placed her hand over mine. If the business falls, her family forces the marriage. Squeezing her hand, I asked for the ingredients and the formula's effects. Avery stared in disbelief. I promised her I could replace it and build something even better. The Prescotts had moved from legal contracts to hired knives. I knew Granite Bay's hidden families would soon start choosing sides. Suddenly, the aura thread on Tatum's bracelet went cold. I had placed it after the road ambush. It only weakened in extreme danger. Just like that, everything changed as I suddenly stood up. Avery grabbed my sleeve. What happened? Tatum is in trouble, I replied, as jealousy crossed her face. But she saw my blood and let go, telling me to bring back the explanation I owe her. I called Mira immediately. Mira answered, joking that I already need a hacker. I told her to track Tatum's phone. She located her phone in a cargo van on West Highway. Time to intercept it. So I called Ronan Griffin, the auctioneer who paid $1 million for my stones. I need a ride, I said. He asked how illegal. I answered kidnapping. Ronan shut down the auction house, arriving in his roaring Lamborghini minutes later. Seriously, this guy treated his luxury car so casually. Anyone else would baby a rare Lamborghini. But Ronan used his like a leather-seated battering ram. He swung open the passenger door. He joked not to bleed on anything important. I told him to drive faster, and he grinned, flooring it. Mira guided us using a moving tracker. Ronan sliced through traffic, hit the shoulder, and pulled right up to the van. Ronan asked which part he could hit. I pointed at the van and told him the ugly part. That is all of it. I braced hard against the dashboard. Perfect. Ronan clipped the van's rear wheel, forcing it sideways, pinning it flat against a concrete barrier. The Lamborghini lost a mirror, but Ronan did not even blink. I leaped out before his car even stopped moving. 3 armed women jumped from the van, firing instantly. My soul sword split into golden lines. Bullets deflected away. I crossed the distance, cutting down all 3 before they could reload for a second volley. Ronan stepped out from behind the engine block, his wild smile completely gone. I ripped open the van door. Tatum lay tied up inside, completely knocked out with a nasty bruise on her temple. As I reached in, an aura beam blasted the roof, exploding the van. I jumped back just as 2 men wearing traditional mountain coats dropped down from the overpass. Aura rolled off their sleeves and their matching blades carried the exact same hostile pressure as Monica's curse. The older brother aimed right at me. Your talent is wasted here. Join our mountain sect, hand over the Royce woman, and we will forgive the hired muscle. I pointed straight at the burning van. You blow up my girlfriend's ride and then try to recruit me while Tatum is still trapped inside? I had absolutely zero time for their massive egos. The younger brother just smirked, saying a man should feel honored. I raised my soul sword. Back off or your recruitment team loses 2 members. But watch closely, the older brother lunges first, fully expecting his aura blade to break mine. I spotted the weak point right near his handguard and clashed with my soul sword's edge. His weapon instantly snapped in half. My follow-up slash severed his arm. He hit the hot asphalt screaming as his protective aura completely vanished. The younger brother launched a wide swing toward the burning van. He was dirty, using Tatum to force me to drop my guard. So I pressed my soul sword against his bleeding brother's throat. I pressed the blade closer, telling him to drop it. The younger brother stared at my sword, then back at the van. He lunged anyway. I shoved the wounded older brother out of the lethal path. The younger brother redirected his aura at the absolute last second, just as I predicted. One fatal hesitation. I stepped inside his range, broke his balance with a sharp kick, and pressed my golden blade right under his jaw. His sword clattered to the ground. Ronan rushed over with a fire extinguisher while I quickly sliced through Tatum's ropes. I hauled her out the back just as the blazing roof collapsed inward. The two brothers stayed down, one down an arm, the other down an argument. Tatum finally opened her eyes in my arms, far away from the heat. She coughed once, opened her eyes, and called out my name. I whispered that she was safe now. Tatum clutched my shirt, scanning my face as if searching for proof. Then she spotted the mountain coats nearby and caught the hem of one. She muttered that she heard them talking before knocking her out. The Prescotts paid off the van crew, and a secret sect was sent to grab her. Other families from the auction might join them, turning this into a massive city war. She gently touched the blood staining my ribs. "You got stabbed too," I told her. Apparently, Avery's lunch date had some pretty terrible service. Her eyes instantly sharpened at the name. Good. Tatum was clearly breathing well enough to get jealous. She pulled me down for a deep kiss, whispering that I was her lucky star. She told me I was coming to the family meeting because my rescue invoices were getting too creative. On the road, she called Monica. With the Prescotts hiring a sect, we had to gather the family. She drove me straight to the Royce estate. Monica Royce sat right at the head of the table, fully recovered and highly interested in the men who dared abduct her daughter. Tatum stood by my side while her relatives stared at me like a pretty serious security problem. Suddenly, one aunt pointed at the door. "This meeting is for family only," she snapped. "A male outsider has no place here." But I calmly told her I came for business. "You can keep all your family drama," I said, tossing a fresh spirit stone onto the polished table. The crystal released one powerful, steady pulse. Every elite fighter in the room felt that massive shockwave. Can you believe the sudden change in mood? Even the rude aunt stopped pointing. She offered to buy it, but I left the stone right between us and said no. Her face tightened as she told me to name my price. "Griffin Reserve handles the auction. I am offering the Royce family preferred access, protective gear, and combat pills that raise strength by about 30%. The aunt glared at me, saying because I am Tatum's friend, I owe this family first rights. I met her stare. Friendship keeps her alive. Ownership gets you absolutely nothing. Monica tapped the table once, asking what I required. I answered her directly. Materials, paid at market value with a small family discount, and zero control over who else I sell to. The stone pulsed again, and the aunt lowered her voice. She eagerly asked how soon I could deliver the pills. 5 minutes ago, this woman wanted me kicked out. Now she was begging for my delivery schedule. Monica pulled out an empty chair right next to Tatum, ordering tea to be served to me first. Right outside the meeting, Tatum stopped me beneath the stone steps. She admitted she only started chasing me because losing annoyed her, but now she trusts me with her life. I lightly tapped her jade bracelet. Trust is always better. Just keep practicing consent. Tatum rolled her eyes. Bossy, she said. I tapped the jade, saying it keeps her alive. Tatum touched my trace on her bracelet, asking what I actually want from all this. I looked back at the family begging for power, protection, and stones, and I answered. I wanted enough influence so nobody could ever put a price on my family again. The Royces were now my first wartime customers. My stones, pills, and protection could build an empire. That kind of value is going to attract every power family in Granite Bay. Back at my house, my own relatives were waiting to tell me why they owned me. Meanwhile, the Voice family had just asked about my rates. Right in my living room, Aunt Marlene Callahan was sizing me up. She represented the old money Callahan family my mother had walked away from. She sat there in a ridiculously expensive tailored suit, while my father, Peter Callahan, poured tea she did not even bother to touch. My mother, Diane, sat beside him. Aunt Marlene looked around, wondering why Diane chose this. Diane set her cup down. I chose Peter, she said. Aunt Marlene just tapped Peter's old college ring. She asked if he still needed Diane to save his weak business choices, then offered a driver to take him somewhere less embarrassing. While they talked about my future, Peter stayed quiet. Diane's glare could cut glass. Aunt Marlene openly mocked Peter, saying he never went to the right schools and had terrible business instincts, forcing them to cover Diane's mistakes. Peter's hands tightened around the teapot. This was no joke. Aunt Marlene turned her cold gaze directly toward me. She demanded I marry into a suitable family, move into their house, and finally stop embarrassing our noble bloodline. I simply declined. Her eyebrows rose, reminding me my choice is only a courtesy. Then she openly threatened my parents' business, our home, and my dad's entire life. She actually had the nerve to call it family discipline. Nobody believed her threats. Aunt Marlene slid a written figure across the table, calling it the price of my cooperation, but I immediately pushed it back. I asked what her leg costs if that small paper buys my future, alarming Peter. Diane looked exhausted. Aunt Marlene was deeply offended that I even dared to talk back. She stood up, warning me the Callahans would teach me respect. I opened the door, telling her to bring a better teacher. Once she left, my father apologized for being the reason we were mocked. Taking the teapot from his hands, I said he was the very reason this house felt like home. I told him they had no right to make him feel ashamed. Then I called Tatum, telling her Marlene threatened my family and the pressure had to stop. The walking red flag went quiet. Tatum asked how firmly, and I told her to just scare Marlene away from our home. I hung up before her wild imagination could turn into an actual felony. By the next afternoon, my mother received a grim message from the Callahans. Marlene survived, but lost a leg and a kidney, and I called Tatum immediately. I demanded to know what she did. Tatum casually replied Marlene won't threaten Peter again. When I yelled that I asked for fear, not surgery, Tatum replied that I literally mentioned the price of a leg. I snapped. That was an insult, I shouted. Tatum paused, saying it felt very specific. I had asked to stop a threat, but she heard a blank check. I banned her from treating my anger as a command. Tatum agreed without sounding sorry. Meanwhile, my mother read the family text twice. Diane warned that they would blame us. After all, Marlene had just threatened us the day before. Peter stared out the front windows. Tatum had eliminated one threat, but she had painted a much larger target over our house. As my dad kept pacing by the windows, I went upstairs. I spent a chunk of Ronan's million on high-grade jade, transforming my room into a workshop. This next defense would answer only to me. A ward pendant has exactly one job. If danger came near, the carved sword would form a shield and alert me. You probably know what happens next. The very first piece cracked. Another literally launched itself straight into my wall. The next one emerged black, crooked, and shaped like a sword that had lost a bar fight. I kept it. Ugly objects always seem to make me a lot of money. The fourth pendant finally held. Its tiny sword mark flashed when I pressed aura against it. The shield lasted one breath enough to stop a lethal hit, but it left my hands empty and my vision trembling. By the sixth carving, my fingertips were literally split open. The soul sword necklace grew warm against my chest. My body was close to giving out. I originally wanted to make 10, but my physical limits voted against it. At dinner, I handed the first working pendants to Peter, Diane, and Jillian. My father turned the jade piece over very carefully. He remarked that this looks expensive. I told him to wear it daily like a temple charm, and he put it on. Diane read my face, then slipped hers beneath her blouse without a single argument. Jillian just held hers up against her shirt. Jillian teased, asking if my rich sister-in-law knew I bought jewelry for other women. I told her she is not my sister-in-law, making Jillian snort. She joked my paperwork was late, because every Just Friends claim in Granite Bay apparently summons a contract clerk. I explained these pendants would block one fatal strike. My father's expression completely shifted when he realized I crafted them because Aunt Marlene knows exactly where we live. He reached across the table and quietly squeezed my hand. Pure magic crafting fatigue. Forehead on the desk. The teacher dropped a marker by my ear. Hey, sleepy genius, solve the board problem. That massive equation covered half the wall. Luckily, my host body's tutoring memories kicked in, and I solved it in 4 quick steps. Classmates immediately erased their work. Then she offered me class rep. Showing off just bought me unpaid management. Of course, things cannot stay quiet. Mid-lesson, the defense ward under my desk suddenly blew up. Jasper, my normal buddy, stared at the burnt sword in my hand. Safe? He whispered. I flipped the charred blade. It survived me, I muttered. He frowned. Bad answer. Keep it, I told him. The shield triggers once. He accepted the ugliest gift ever and hid it. Then he showed me a basketball video. My viral dunk against Avery was all over school, and they wanted me on the team. Jasper admitted he volunteered me. You volunteered me? I stared. Jasper shrugged. I believed in you aggressively. The screen showed the bleachers where the old Derek sat lonely. I handed it back. Fine, I will play. Right then, Olivia Chandler, my childhood classmate, walked in from a recording session. Fitted black clothes and shades indoors, half the crowded hallway parted. Reincarnation did not cure my bad vision. Olivia pinched my cheek, demanding I come to the reunion. I rubbed my face. I was famous for 12 hours before you ruined it. Olivia smirked. Avery likes you, she warned. I replied she has great instincts. Olivia pointed, try surviving both. She got my promise and left. Jasper watched her leave like his soul missed the last bus. My buddy Jasper confessed he loved her for years, begging for an autograph. Romance starting with mere merchandise? He shrugged, strategic panic. Fine. I will ask. Jasper hugged me anyway, ignoring his pride. After class, our shy class president, Bethany Sutton, tried hiding her math homework. I nudged her pencil back and showed her the shortcut, replacing her embarrassment with relief. She had fed and defended me without asking for anything, so I gave her a pure jade pendant. Bethany pushed it back. Too valuable. I slid it forward. I would rather keep you safe than price jade. Her ears turned pink. You say that on purpose. I smiled. Only when it works. She took it. She stared at me, then down at the small protective sword. Thank you, Bethany whispered. That evening, I brought a pendant to Tatum because kidnapping had apparently become her absolute favorite hobby. Gifting jewelry already, she teased. I tapped the green jade. It is armor. Tatum smiled at that. Watch this. I actually had a guard fire a live training bolt right at her. Instantly, golden light erupted around Tatum, dropping the bolt harmlessly. The guards immediately asked if I could make 6 more before nightfall. Tatum touched the fading shield. Then, she shoved me backward onto her bed and sniffed my collar. Another girl had your attention. She sniffed. My love life has officially become a high-end crime lab. I only protect people I care about, I said. Tatum leaned over me, asking how many women. Enough that this interview needs snacks. Stop collecting girlfriends, she warned. I tapped the pendant at her throat. You are wearing proof that I expect you to survive the competition. Tatum tried to hide her smile and failed. I escaped before gratitude became another hostage situation. Later, I found Mira sleeping beside 3 glowing computer screens. Mira shifted under her blanket, whispering, please do not leave just because I am poor. Her nightmare revealed the fear her jokes hid. I woke her gently, and she grabbed my shirt. I chose you awake, I promised. Nightmares do not get a vote. Her desperate grip loosened. Gently, I placed a ward pendant around her neck and kissed her. She clutched the green jade. Later, my mother Diane picked me up nearby. She took one deep sniff inside the car and stared at my jacket. Your father notices perfume, Diane warned. She cracked the window, lit a cigarette, and blew smoke over my collar. Unbelievable. My own mother was now a cover-up accomplice. Then Ronan texted a Royce relative just sold one of my ward pendants for over $1 million. An hour later, we met at a quiet bar. Ronan laughed at the price tag. With the right buyer, that piece easily fetches $10 million. I stared at my glass. The ugly one too? Ronan grinned, saying especially the ugly one. Apparently, rich folks call damage history. Over a drink, Ronan explained how his mother's family separated him from his dad. They only cared about his inheritance value, completely forgetting his favorite foods. He had wealth, but no real home. For once, I opened up about Aunt Marlene forcing me into marriage. Nobody was laughing. Ronan just poured another round. Then build so much power they are forced to ask, Ronan said, raising his glass. We clinked. My buyer was now a friend. Unfortunately, having a friend did not make me a better drinker. I stumbled home completely wasted and opened the wrong door. A bob-haired girl caught my arm when I tripped. In the dark, I muttered, mirror. The light snapped right on. Jillian was standing there with a laundry basket. I leaped backward to avoid touching her, slamming into the wall hard enough to sober up. Jillian just stared, teasing me about having 2 rich girlfriends and a hacker, yet here I was flirting with laundry. Forget this memory, Jillian laughed, raising the basket. I am telling everyone at your wedding. Luckily, I had stopped before touching her. The light fixed the mistake, making me swear off alcohol. Meanwhile, Olivia's high school reunion invite waited on my phone. Along with that invite came an old grudge with a massive audience. On reunion day, I took my first million to a high-end clothing store. The old Derek wore the same school uniform until his toxic classmates started treating his poverty like a personal failure. I bought a sharp, fitted suit, then headed straight to a car dealership. The clothing store clerk had the nerve to ask which woman was paying. I paid before she finished. At the car lot, another clerk offered me the passenger seat color chart. I demanded the keys. Once the payment alerts went through, both clerks instantly changed their attitude. One even carried my bags. The car dealer quickly handed over the keys. Honestly, showing off my status was much easier than having another annoying conversation. Now watch this. Here comes the drama. Bryce Baxter, the worst bully from his past, was waiting right outside the restaurant. He called Derek a creep. He convinced everyone that my friendly gestures were fake, laughing as classmates avoided me. After one vicious rumor, the old Derek was forced to eat lunch alone. Soon, all invites stopped. Bryce used that lonely silence as proof that he had been right all along. Now, he stood outside in a flashy jacket, making sure everyone saw him playing the host. But when he saw my ride, he had to double-check the driver. "You borrowed that," he scoffed. Another laughed, telling Bryce to pay up on his bet that Derek would wear his school uniform. See, Bryce had promised to buy everyone lunch for an entire week if I showed up dressed better than the old. Pathetic me. I adjusted my cuff, saying start Monday. Phones came out and orders flew. A classmate opened our reunion group chat and pinned Bryce's bet right at the top. Others started listing expensive places he could afford. Bryce tried to play it off as a joke, but nobody was letting him slide after losing. They kept picking restaurants while his fake smile twitched. Naturally, Bryce tried to recover by organizing a basketball team for the upcoming sports festival. Avery Henson stepped up next to me, catching him deliberately leaving my name off the team roster. She immediately crossed her arms. "The team needs Derek," she said. Bryce looked between us, scoffing that I would just quit when the game got rough. I faced Avery. "I will play if I get one kiss," I declared. The room went wild, phones recording everything. Avery stepped close, telling me to win first. "Interest applies," I joked. Avery tapped my chest, claiming I was already overcharging. I officially joined, ordered dessert for everyone, and sat right next to her. Just then, Olivia Chandler arrived late from a recording gig. Olivia was a childhood friend and a rapidly rising star. As she walked in wearing a stunning black dress, half the room sat up straight. Look at his desperation here. Bryce literally dashed to the piano, desperately playing before Olivia could even reach our table. He watched her over the keys, but Olivia completely bypassed him. She stopped right in front of me, extending her hand. "Dance?" Bryce botched a note. I stood, but Avery grabbed my sleeve, asking if I was enjoying myself. I leaned in, asking if she was jealous. Avery tightened her grip, claiming she was just handling quality control while Olivia smiled. "I will return him safe," Olivia smiled. Avery let go, saying to improve me. Bryce desperately kept playing as Olivia chose me right in front of him, truly a work of art as we stepped onto the floor. She moved with the sheer grace of a camera veteran, while I actually managed to look somewhat coordinated. Soon, all the classmates surrounding Bryce's piano turned their attention toward us. One girl even took her drink away from the keys. Another asked Olivia for a picture while Bryce was still playing. He watched everyone walk away, and abruptly stopped mid-song, plunging the room into silence. Bryce stood up, pointing aggressively at me, accusing me of showing off borrowed money, disrespecting his art, and stealing the spotlight from those who earned it. I casually sat down, firing back that him stopping was the ultimate performance upgrade. Bryce's face turned completely red. "Apologize, Neil, and I might let you stay." There it was. He spent years kicking the old Derek out of rooms. Now, he wanted a repeat performance. I watched his hands. I nodded at the piano. "Your music is garbage," I said. "Your fingers should resign." Bryce slammed the lid play better then. "You and I both know where this was going." The bully doubled down. I stood there and whistled. The first note cut through the room. The second, it pulled every single conversation straight toward it. I played an ancient, old-world melody from legendary sword halls. It required focus, aura, and centuries of training Bryce completely lacked. Olivia stopped smiling and listened. Avery lowered her glass. Even the waiter by the door froze. Bryce tried to ruin it with a loud chord, but my whistling completely drowned him. When I finished, total silence. Olivia asked where I learned it. Avery stared at me, shocked by my godlike strength. 3 classmates turned their phones to film me instead of him. Bryce lost the room before I even touched him. He grabbed my shoulder. "Think you are better than me?" I picked up a dull dessert knife. One flick sent a thread of aura right across his hair. Bryce froze. Dead silent. He touched the bare skin next to his missing hair, his hand shaking. I placed the knife down. "Leave," I told him. "Your hands can stay, but this room has suffered enough." Olivia hid a laugh. Avery chuckled. The classmates nearest Bryce stepped aside instead of defending him. The arrogant bully who once decided where Derek could sit walked out completely alone. He kept arguing. Nobody even answered. The party went on without him. Avery stepped beside me, touching the soul sword necklace under my collar. "You get more mysterious every day," Avery whispered, touching the necklace. "You will learn the truth," I replied. She narrowed her eyes. "When?" she demanded. "When telling you is safer than hiding it," I answered. Avery studied me, then stole my dessert. "I am charging interest," she joked. Afterward, I went to Mira's apartment, expecting a quiet night. Instead, I found her father gripping her arm hard enough to leave bruises. He brought his massive gambling debts here for his daughter to pay. Mira struggled against his tight grip. "I do not have that money," she cried. Her father only twisted harder. "I raised you," he snarled. "Your income belongs to this family." He shoved the debt notice in her face. You work with rich families. Find it. Then he claimed a wealthy man would clear the debt if she married him. Her father sneered that he had already sent her photos and she was liked. Mira went completely pale. A nasty bruise was already forming under his fingers. He looked at my fine suit, then at my car keys. Pay $3 million and I will leave her alone, her father sneered. I stepped between them, removing his hand. He saw my watch and immediately hiked up the price. $5 million, he smiled. I kept my voice perfectly level. You get $5 million after you sign away all claims on her. The father laughed. She is my daughter. I slid the contract over. You treated her like collateral, and now you are selling her off. I dropped a single page onto the table. No visits, calls, or financial claims. Then I texted Ronan, send me $5 million, I will repay you. Ronan replied before the father finished reading, asking for details. Seeing the confirmation, the father grabbed the pen. He signed. Only then did Ronan release the money. Mira's father checked the balance twice, completely stunned. That relief made him bold again. He sneered that I was just a boy playing with women's money. You cannot keep me away. I raised my hand. A golden soul sword materialized, cutting the chair beside him into 4 clean pieces without touching his coat. The man stopped breathing entirely. This signed agreement just bought you a safe exit. Now use it, I ordered. Mira's father took the cash and bolted without looking back, leaving as a paid stranger. He was gone, with absolutely no right to return. Mira stood completely motionless until the door slammed shut. Then she buried her face in my chest and sobbed. I held her close until she could breathe normally. Looking up, Mira kissed me and whispered her thanks. The next morning, I woke to the scent of burnt eggs and industrial cleaning spray. She had put on an apron, cleaned the entire place, and plated breakfast with highly nervous precision. Mira carefully watched me taste the eggs. Are they good? I swallowed carefully. They are pretty dangerous. Her shoulders dropped. I paid for your freedom, I told her. Now use it, and be Mira. She stared at the rising smoke. Mira ordered takeout instead. I raised my water, excellent recovery. I sent a thank you text to Ronan. Ronan just laughs and demands $5 million, 1 dinner, and absolutely no bleeding in his Lamborghini next time. I owe him $5 million and he is still playing. Talk about an expensive morning. By lunchtime, Avery is already waiting at school, eager for that refining formula I promised her. I hand over a single page with the ancient method completely rebuilt to supercharge the Henson family medicine. As she reads the opening lines, her breath catches. She spots the exact step those thieving Prescotts stole from her. She whispers that this could save her family's entire legacy. Then she looks up, shocked, asking if I am really giving this to her without any contract. I just nod. She carefully folds the paper and asks what happens if she betrays me. Simple, I tell her I just judged her wrong. Clutching the formula to her chest, she asks if I truly trust her that much. I tell her I trusted her long before she even knew me. Suddenly, she steps right onto the center of the court. And trust me, nobody in the gym expected her next words. She openly declares her love and kisses me. Some jealous idiot throws a basketball right at my head, but Avery catches it mid-kiss without even looking. She whips around, firing the ball back with enough raw force to send the attacker flying onto the bleachers. Then she orders everyone to run laps. Showing off your love in Granite Bay apparently requires serious crowd control. By dinner time, a viral video of that legendary mid-kiss catch reaches my mother. Diane slides her phone across the table, asking exactly how many women think they are currently engaged to me. Sitting down, I admit I am still calculating those numbers. My mother almost smiles, then places Aunt Marlene's family seal on the table. She reveals that she is actually the powerful Madame Callahan. She leads the elite National Callahan clan. Beside her, Peter stands quiet and incredibly tense. My mother explains she abandoned her family to marry him. In return, the Callahans cut them off, humiliated Peter constantly, and already mapped out my future marriage to serve them. They never accepted her decision, and they still think they can control my life just to keep my mother safe. Aunt Marlene was just a warning. Next time, they will send someone far more dangerous. Touching the gold seal, I ask how to stop them. Her answer is simple: attend Union National University. The school holds so much elite status that even Madame Callahan herself would never dare to attack a student openly. Getting in turns me from a private family pawn into a highly protected public asset. She locks eyes, telling me they will have to negotiate. Gripping the seal tightly, I make my decision. I will get in. That elite university is going to be my perfect escape. But first, I have to survive this massive auction, deal with a woman targeting my prize, and bypass a weapon my aura cannot stop. The university might shield me from my family, but first, I need my soulbound sword to stop literally ripping my mortal body to shreds. Alone in my room, I channel aura into a tiny practice blade, watching golden energy bleed across the cold metal. The edge sharpens, the floor cracks, and my wrist begins to shake violently. My 3 centuries of training had 5 core stages. But my current issue is far simpler. The legendary sword needs a vessel strong enough to contain it, and my 18-year-old body cannot take the heat. I only plan to rest for 10 minutes, but Ronan calls 2 hours later, practically bursting my eardrum with his screaming. Ronan demands to know if I am already at the auction. I just stare at the bright sunlight across my bedroom floor. I tell him my spirit is there, but when he asks if I am still asleep, I say yes. He hangs up shouting. Sleeping through my own $1 million auction is definitely a brand new personal low. 40 minutes later, I rush into the Griffin Reserve auction house wearing a random clean jacket. The vessel I desperately need is on the line, so there is no time to dress up. A wealthy, snobbish couple blocks the private entrance before I can reach Ronan. She sneers at my cheap jacket and simple badge, while her husband smirks with fake pity. You just know these two are about to regret everything. She tells me this door is strictly for VIP buyers, suggesting the cheap public line is located downstairs. I tap my badge, telling them to read it before they look stupid. Instead, the husband grabs it, trying to rip it off. He claims fakes belong downstairs. I grab my badge back, but his furious wife reaches to slap my face. Screaming that I need to be taught some manners, she lunges. I catch her wrist, spin, and snap her arm over my shoulder. Her husband drops his folder in shock as security rushes over. Crying out, she points with her good hand, demanding my immediate arrest. Ronan arrives before the guards can take action. He looks at her broken arm, then glances down at my badge. He barks that they just attacked his main supplier. Her voice instantly falters as she pleads ignorance, but Ronan isn't having any of it. Cutting her off, Ronan snatches their bidding paddle, hands it to security, and bans them both on the spot. The crowd stops whispering about my cheap jacket and starts checking out my badge. The husband desperately apologizes while guards drag them away, but his wife keeps screaming about lawsuits until the elevator doors shut. The same hostess who ignored me earlier quickly unclips the VIP rope and offers me the best lounge seat. 2 wealthy buyers immediately asked Ronan if my next spirit stones were ready. A woman who previously mocked my cheap jacket offered me champagne. I took water. My reputation had upgraded way faster than my wardrobe. She actually claimed I was far too low status to enter. Security tossed her out. Beautifully efficient. Ronan dragged me into his office, asking if I could survive one single event without breaking his clients. Could they stop volunteering? Ronan sighed. Fair, he admitted, before his face suddenly hardened. He said someone had investigated the lost leg and kidney of Aunt Marlene. Those questions reached my mother, the Callahans, and Tatum's people. My staff kept hearing one name. Ronan warned that his grandmother, Madame Callahan, was already looking directly toward Granite Bay. I needed Union National University secured before Madame Callahan got to the city. Ronan opened the door just as Aunt Marlene wheeled past, blending in with the main auction crowd. She spotted me, noticed Tatum Royce walking up from the opposite hallway, and rolled past without a word. Then Tatum entered, wearing a dark dress and dangerous confidence. Seriously. Look at her, that dress declared total war on my concentration. The gorgeous walking red flag crossed the room, jumped straight into my arms, and wrapped her legs around me. Ronan stared at the ceiling, threatening to charge us for the room. Tatum kissed my cheek, telling him to charge Derek's account. I reminded her I already owe him $5 million. Tatum was about to add a room fee. She dragged me into a private lounge before Ronan could answer, with fresh milk tea already waiting on my table. Wine waited for her. I inspected my cup, and Tatum raised an eyebrow. It is sealed, she teased, since your history makes drinks suspicious. Drink water, you coward. She laughed, sliding down beside me to describe several outfits she had considered buying for our next private meeting. Her descriptions were so highly suggestive, they made my sealed milk tea feel entirely harmless. Tatum caught me looking at her dress, asking if I was interested. I claimed I was checking for hidden weapons. Find any? She smirked. Several, I murmured. She kissed me before I finished. Right when Ronan walked back in carrying the auction catalog. He spotted Tatum on my lap, backed out, and shut the door, calling through the wood that he would return when our meeting became legal. Tatum laughed against my mouth. I gently pushed her aside and opened the door. Give me the ugly object first, I told Ronan. Then the scandal. Ronan flipped past a meteor fragment. It was useful, but it could wait. The biggest prestige lot was some sealed ancient wine. I ignored the bottle, focusing instead on the photo of the stained bronze pot holding it. Faint aura lines ran right under the corrosion. The wine has some value, I told Ronan, but that bronze vessel can house my sword and refine medicine. Ronan froze. His high-end experts had only priced the bottle, treating the actual treasure like cheap packaging. Ugly objects kept making me rich. I loved the consistency, but Ronan warned that the lot had already transferred to a Marshall family buyer. Go find that buyer, I told him. Then, we build the alliance. Stones, wards, medicine, and client protection were way bigger than simple one-time sales. Ronan closed the catalog and called his security chief before I left. He set up secure buyer access and a direct family line. The auction house was now protecting my buyers and my family alongside the stones. But late that night, my route home was blocked. But check this out, our target was already blocked by a massive barricade, and a mysterious woman stood in the road. 6 Marshall family fighters surrounded her, and all 6 looked pretty banged up. The woman wore a deep purple robe, flashing a federal badge for everyone to see. Gwen introduced herself, claiming to represent the Federal Marshal Oversight Bureau. She declared the bronze vessel was now government property. When one fighter refused and attacked, Gwen caught the punch, broke her stance, and dropped her with a single strike. They moved together, 5 versus 1. Gwen handled them in less than a minute. She moved with zero wasted motion. One brutal elbow folded a guard. One heel cracked the asphalt right beside another woman's head. When the last fighter reached for the transport case, Gwen simply threw her straight across the hood. She quickly loaded the bronze vessel and the sealed wine into a black car. I kept hidden behind a concrete wall, carefully measuring her steady breathing. Gwen turned her head toward me, ordering me to step out. I walked onto the road with both hands visible, declaring I want the vessel. An immediate attack launched before I even finished speaking. Her palm slammed into my first aura shield, splitting it completely. I instantly released my soulbound sword, the golden blade clashing with her second strike. Gwen stared at the weapon instead of my face. Unregistered technique, she noted, dodging my strike. As she swept low, I jumped, sliced toward her shoulder, and hit a thin sword thread in the road. Gwen blocked my visible blade and forced me backward right through the barricade. She had expected another local fighter. Meanwhile, I had expected an official who would at least ask questions before committing murder. We were both disappointed. Gwen speeded up, her next 3 strikes forcing my soul sword right against my chest. I read her 4th move, twisted her wrist, and sliced her purple sleeve open. Instantly, a compact pistol appeared in her hand. The gun had a tiny green government seal on the handle and looked pretty basic. But when Gwen fired, that single bullet tore right through my golden shield. In the same breath, the round ripped into my side, blasting me onto the asphalt as my golden sword vanished. Clutching the tear, my aura tried to heal it but instantly failed. The blood just kept pouring out. Gwen stepped closer, gun lowered, mocking me that this special round halts martial healing and that I should have stayed hidden. Now watch this, despite the absolute agony, I still managed to pull the hidden sword thread I left behind her. That delayed golden strike burst from the street, piercing her defense. She froze, her weapon slipped from her hand. She stumbled toward the headlights and collapsed by the barricade. Gwen had defeated 6 top fighters and shattered my strongest shield. Ignoring her blind spot was a fatal mistake. That slip-up killed her. I slowly dragged myself upright. That ancient bronze vessel was still sitting inside her SUV, along with the sealed ritual wine. Snatching her keys, I popped the trunk and hoisted both treasures with my good arm. The icy metal steadied my wild aura. Heavy energy hummed under the seal. I had the pot, but the wound stayed open, and a hospital would report the dead federal envoy. I threw my jacket over the artifact, grabbed the wine, and sped straight to Mira's place. Mira threw the door open, gasped at the blood, and grabbed the container before I collapsed. "Derek, who did this to you?" "A government agent." That terrible answer made everything so much worse. I blacked out before I could even explain. Mira desperately pressed her hands to my chest, but the healing failed. She immediately called Tatum, our local specialist in ancient weapons. When Tatum finally rushed in, Mira met her with a bloody hand and slammed a spare house key into her grip. "Use this for emergencies only," Mira warned. "He is literally bleeding out." Tatum slid the key away and knelt down. Her face paled seeing the injury. "This is a null round," Tatum declared. "It must come out." I gripped the wooden table tightly. "Just do it." Tatum sliced inside while Mira held me down. The lead was buried right against my rib. Waves of agonizing pain flooded my entire chest. Tatum worked in dead silence. Mira kept me awake until the bullet clinked into the tray. The instant it was out, my healing aura flooded back. The heavy bleeding stopped. My skin began knitting back together. Tatum stared at the extracted metal. Mira watched my skin knit neatly under the clean bandage. I had actually survived. And here comes the crazy romance drama. Tatum instantly glared at Mira, demanding why I chose her apartment. "Because I actually welcomed him in," Mira snapped. Tatum turned to me. "You chose her place while dying." "I picked the closest friend who would not hand me to the feds." Tatum asked if I slept here before. "Yes," I admitted. Tatum ordered me to cut ties with Mira. I sat up through the sharp pain. "No, tell me to dump her again, and we are done." I looked her in the eyes. "You decide if you stay, but you do not control who else I keep." Tatum went quiet, her anger turning ice cold. She stayed. Mira kept her hand on me as I explained the rest of the situation to Tatum. How Gwen Kendall ambushed me, stole the vessel, shot me, and met her demise in our brutal clash. Tatum placed Gwen's purple sleeve next to the green bullet. Green outranks purple, she warned, meaning the next hunter will be way stronger and hold more power. Mira nervously asked how they would track us down. Tatum simply tapped 4 points on the wooden table. The auction, the bloody road, and underground clinics all point to you. At that, I ripped my bloody bandages off. The deep gash was already just a faint red line. Tatum touched it, whispering that people would kill for this healing technique. I can teach you the circulation pattern. Her eyes snapped up. I saw anger, greed, and attraction all in her gaze. Suddenly, my phone buzzed. High school started in 40 minutes. Both girls stared at me in disbelief. I stood up as Mira locked our precious loot inside her heavy steel safe. I grabbed my uniform. I had literally slain a federal agent, survived a deadly bullet, and ignited a love war before eating breakfast. But Granite Bay Prep still demanded my presence. Just 40 minutes after almost dying, I passed out in class. Our beautiful class president, Bethany Sutton, tried to shake me awake before we got caught. I mumbled that I was still breathing, then lazily crashed my head right onto Bethy's shoulder. The teacher spotted us, and the class went wild. By lunch, everyone was whispering that we had been cuddling all through math class. The teacher wrote a 10-point problem, turning our romantic gossip into a massive public wager. If Derek scores a perfect 10, she declared, I will drop the extra punishment. But miss one, and you both run 50 laps. Bethany stood to defend me, but I grabbed her sleeve, telling her to save her legs. As everyone giggled, I calmly walked up, destroyed the problem, and dropped the chalk. 10 solid points. The teacher cleared my punishment, but those dating rumors got pretty bad. Bethany threw her arms around my waist out of sheer relief, right when Avery Henson walked in and stared directly at us. Her orange-haired friend glanced between us and whispered that this lunch was about to get incredibly violent. At lunch, Avery sat across from us, slammed her hands down, and demanded Bethany explain everything right now. Avery crossed her arms, pure intimidation. I quietly begged Bethany to help keep me awake. When Avery's friend teased that I was cooked for defending her, Avery kicked her under the table. All jokes vanished as Avery slid a sealed case forward, revealing a ruined, pitch-black failed sample inside. She valued it at $200 million, warning that the original dose would poison native meridians. Still, she noted this failed reaction actually exposed a new pathway we can safely rebuild. Her family will fund everything and supply the ingredients, since my old-world cultivation style did not fit native bodies. Honestly, who else walks away with $200 million after failing? Our guy is just built different. I accepted the ingredients and asked what happens when local men force aura through native techniques. Avery grabbed my wrist, hard. She warned that their channels literally tear apart, causing death. She gripped me tighter, warning me not to test it on myself, which usually means big trouble. Honestly, she knew me shockingly well for someone who remembered absolutely nothing of our past life. Back home, my dad scolded me over my bandaged wounds and ruined uniform, especially after hearing those wild dating rumors. My dad, Peter, told me to rest. Then, the doorbell rang. Tatum arrived with her terrible timing. She offered to supervise me, but the uneasy look my father gave me did not bring any comfort. Tatum set down the medicine and demanded I teach her the healing pattern, despite my warnings about her native meridians. Tatum lay down anyway. Stubborn. I carefully guided a thread of aura into her side. Her body should have handled it easily, but my ancient energy suddenly surged way too fast. A dark line bruised her skin, making her back arch as the meridian began swelling beneath my hand. I instantly shut the channel, pinning her down while drawing the chaotic energy back out as she bit the blanket. While locals use native pathways, my old-world cultivation style forced power through an entirely different route. Mixing them could kill her. And guess who walks in right when I am holding her waist? Yep, his dad. Tatum groaned that I almost tore something inside her, prompting my dad to slam the door shut in sheer panic. Tatum just laughed despite the pain. I covered my face. 300 years of living could not prepare me for that. After sealing her meridian, I called the Royce family for their closely guarded cultivation manual. Before heading out, Ronan sent over some security photos and notes from their roadblock investigation. One investigator wore blue, while the other carried a green federal seal matching Gwen's weapon. Ronan's note mentioned they had already swept the auction houses, clinics, and black market dealers. Apparently, the green-robed woman was hunting for her fiancé around Griffin Reserve, and I honestly felt bad for him. Granite Bay clearly has awful luck with women. Later that evening, I decided to test the ancient bronze vessel. It held my intense aura perfectly, letting my soulbound sword finally stop grinding against my chest. My excess energy condensed into a black mask, which was perfect since the feds already had my vehicle details. This mask keeps my identity hidden. For now, I will keep the ancient wines sealed until I master their native manuals. Later that night, I sat down with Monica Royce to discuss a potential business deal. I offered combat pills that boost strength by 30%, asking to read their family manual in return. Monica snapped the book shut, declaring that the manual stays in the family unless I marry Tatum. The Royce aunt smiled warmly across the table, reminding me that a husband gets full protection and knowledge. A guest only gets dinner. No deal. I left, with Tatum staring after me. Outside, I called Ronan, who confirmed that these elite families absolutely never sell their secret techniques. He whispered that some ancient methods actually mutilated men to make them compatible, which completely shocked me. Ronan pleaded with me to invent a better way, saying he was quite attached to his plumbing. Talk about a deeply personal funding interest. I headed straight to Mira's place instead of undergoing crazy family surgery. Mira already got the Henson ingredients. She lined the sealed boxes right next to the bronze vessel and pointed at them with a proud smile. I placed the stabilized bronze vessel over the ingredients and channeled my aura right through it. The metal stayed completely ice-cold, while any normal container would have shattered. Golden light surged through the vessel, infusing the ingredients to form a row of small combat pills. The very first one packed a solid 30% boost. This vessel stabilized my sword and delivered the exact goods I promised. Mira carefully picked up one pill with tweezers. "You made a fortune in my kitchen," she teased, but I said it was making us both rich. She set the pill down, grabbed my collar, and asked me to stay. I stayed. We kissed. Neither of us cared about the time until Mira suddenly pulled back. She asked if my aura methods changed pregnancy risks before things got reckless. I froze. The hacker just killed the mood with some highly responsible research. Honestly, impressive. I told her we use protection and caution. Mira simply nodded. Good. She told me I could go back to being distracting, but my phone rang before we could start. Colin Royce was calling because Tatum wanted me outside. Before hanging up, he blurted out that he saw Avery's orange-haired friend at lunch, asking if she was single. Colin was so nervous he tripped over his own words. I told him I could help. Colin exhaled, asking if I was serious, and I said yes. I told him to stop sounding like a hostage reading a ransom note. 10 minutes later, Tatum was waiting outside Mira's building with some milk tea. Colin stood by the passenger door, visibly sweating. I immediately checked the seal on my cup. Tatum unwrapped the straw herself. The drug was hidden right inside it, and I tasted the bitter kick. 3 swallows too late. Wait, watch this. Colin saw my hand slip off the cup and screamed at Tatum, asking what she did. She caught me before I hit the ground, locked me in, and drove away. Colin pounded on the glass as Tatum sped off. My vision faded to black with her face hovering above mine. She drugged me. Again. Rage washed over me before the darkness took over. When I woke up, I was fully dressed on a bed inside a Royce guest room. Tatum was sitting right next to me with her family manual on her lap. I immediately pulled away and stood up. I told her she repeated the very first violation. Do it again and you lose me forever. Tatum's smile vanished, and she quietly opened the manual. She muttered that her family only gives this to blood or marriage. I said she could have just asked, but Tatum argued that I keep refusing. I cut her off, telling her to hear the refusal then. Tatum looked down for a second, whispering that she needed me to choose her before they take me. Her fear was completely real, but her methods were still dirty. My head cleared up entirely before I held out my hand to her. I told her I will call her a future wife to get the manual, but that does not buy me. Tatum looked up in surprise. Future wife candidate on highly dangerous probation. She placed the manual in my palm. I set it aside, pulled her close, and kissed her first. Tatum spotted my jacket on a chair, threw it on, and rolled up the sleeves. I told her to give it back. Future wife tax, Tatum smirked. Candidate, probation, and theft recorded. But she kept it anyway. With my head finally clear and the manual secured, I took Tatum straight to the Royce training room. I poured one precise cup of the sealed ancient wine, guiding her aura through the path shown in the book. Her body absorbed the liquid without fighting it. Look at this. One meridian popped open, then another. Her power climbed instantly before the cup emptied. Tatum punched the practice wall, burying her fist straight through the thick padding. Outside, the guards stopped pretending they were not eavesdropping. She turned to me with a wild grin. Instantly, Tatum lunged forward to test her crazy new strength. I blocked the first punch, redirected the second, and caught her wrist before the third. Tatum laughed, saying we would be terrifying together. You were already terrifying, I replied, and now the furniture knows it. The next day at school, Avery saw Tatum wearing my jacket, calling herself my future wife. Avery blocked my desk, demanding to know if I spent the night with her, gave her my jacket, and called her my future wife. She does not own me, I told her coldly. And neither do you. Avery pulled one combat pill from the new batch and slammed her elbow onto the table. Let us settle this right here, she demanded. You beat me. I will tolerate her for now. If I win, she leaves. Tatum just leaned against the wall, telling her to take 2 pills. Avery swallowed one and smirked. Just one is enough, she boasted. The boost hit instantly, her grip tightening hard enough to splinter the tabletop. I let her push my hand halfway down. Avery smiled, thinking she won. Then I opened an aura channel and drove her hand into the wood. That loud crack silenced the whole room. Staring at our hands, Avery realized her 30% boost worked, but it still could not close the gap. She let go and pointed at Tatum. I tolerate you temporarily, Avery growled. Tatum blew her a kiss. Avery turned right back to me. Then marry me first, she demanded. That evening, I went home with her proposal completely unanswered. Diane opened the door, and Eleanor Fairfax stepped in carrying a signed betrothal contract. She came from the powerful Fairfax political dynasty. Right then, the paper in her hand mattered far more than her resume. Eleanor placed the document right on our table. The Fairfax family and Madame Callahan actually approved this marriage, so I ripped the contract in half. Eleanor just stared at the pieces. That was just a copy, I said. I held up the torn halves to save paper, but she kicked me right through the doorway. I grabbed the frame, swung myself back inside, and fired a kick right back. Eleanor blocked it cleanly and drove her heel toward my ribs. She was way stronger than Avery, and faster than Tatum before he drank. This contract brought a girl strong enough to enforce it herself. We traded 3 brutal blows. Eleanor actually smiled when I caught her incoming fist. I smiled right back as her balance shifted. But then she swept my legs, and I drew my golden sword right against her throat. Eleanor froze with her boot pressed to my chest while my blade grazed her neck. She burst out laughing and called a truce. Walking outside, she followed me to the driveway and inspected my face like some shiny prize she had just decided to buy. You are stronger than the report says, she remarked, and way better looking. Incredible. Eleanor grabbed my tie, pulling me close. Watch this, she warns. I will never reach the university acting this reckless. I hooked her ankle and pinned her to the car, telling her to keep grading me since I love practical exams. She just laughed. She did not get mad. Instead, a mysterious green seal flashed under her sleeve. I recognized that mark from Federal gear, so I kept my sword ready. Tapping my chest, she admitted she loved a husband who fights back. Then Eleanor drove off, taking the ripped pieces of the contract and way too much attitude with her. My family sent a fiancé who kicks down doors, flirts while threatening me, and carries a federal seal. This marriage thing was no longer just paperwork. Soon, the sports festival forced me to honor the annoying promise Jasper Coleman had dragged out of me. Just 2 days after Eleanor trashed my door, I sat near the basketball court, quietly studying a male cultivation diagram. Suddenly, some student snatched the book from my hands and threw it directly into the dirt. Stop acting like you are too important to play, the guy snapped. Jasper quickly stepped in and offered to join. The jerk shoved Jasper and then literally bit his arm. When Jasper grabbed the book, the guy realized how dumb that was. Talk about going from game pressure to literal cannibalism in 6 seconds flat. I yanked him off Jasper, struck his ribs, and twisted his wrist. He dropped to his knees. You wanted me on the court, I told him, but biting my friend was a stupid way to ask. Trying to swing from the dirt, I hit the exact same pressure point. Boom, he threw up on his own shoes. Just as he finished, the student council walked by. He saw their badges, covered his face, and bolted while his friends totally abandoned him. Jasper clutched his arm. He watched the coward run. That was disgusting, Jasper sighed. His technique lacked refinement. Later in the infirmary, 3 of the boy's friends blamed me for humiliating him. Avery walked inside before those idiots could turn their whining into an actual fight. Looking at Jasper's bite, she turned to me. You promised to play, she reminded. She had me there, so I closed my book. Fine. Let us make them regret asking. But those 3 punks reached the bench first. And one smeared clear industrial glue all over my chair. Catching the wet shine, I calmly sat 2 seats away. The prankster tried his best to hide his massive disappointment. Avery showed up, sat right down. You know this ends badly. And yep, that glue held. When Avery stood back up, the seam of her uniform pants ripped open. The entire gym went dead silent for one dangerous second. Instantly, I whipped off my jacket and tied it around her waist before anyone dared to laugh. Avery glared at the pranksters, asking which one did it. Naturally, all 3 pointed fingers at each other. I stepped in front of Avery, shielding her while she adjusted my jacket. Avery caught me looking at the guilty group. Eyes up, boyfriend, she smirked. I am just identifying future patients. Honestly, good answer. Her killer glare shut down any laughter before it even started. Meanwhile, the rival schools spent the first half pretending they were total amateurs. Suddenly, they could not miss a single shot. With only minutes left, our team was falling dangerously behind. Their school president strolled to center court and smiled smugly at Avery, announcing that if they win, Derek has to train with them for a week. Complete access, he added. Avery crossed her arms, replying that they could not afford him. The president just pointed at the scoreboard. Stop us then, he smirked. Avery looked at me. Get on court. What is my reward? I asked. She leaned close. Win, and I will wear that cheerleader outfit you pretend you do not want to see. In my defense, that kind of motivation works. I stepped onto the court, immediately guarded by their captain. He wore the guy's uniform, kept his shoulder turned away, and moved with perfect balance. Recognizing her style from the women's division, I scored easily on our very first play. The captain retaliated with a brutal foul, calling me delicate, but I just scored again, making the crowd switch sides instantly. Even Jasper started screaming my name, waving that freshly bitten arm. But on the next drive, their captain stepped up to block my path. I hooked my finger under her oversized waistband and yanked the shorts clean down. Right underneath, she was wearing the rival school's competition gear, and the entire gym absolutely lost it. In a total panic, the captain scrambled to cover up while their president desperately tried to claim it was just a mistake. But that official roster number exposed the entire cheat. Our opponents went wild, leaving the president with absolutely zero excuses. The student council quickly locked in the disqualification after the crowd completely turned on them. And honestly, you have to love the irony, she basically speedrun her own public disgrace. Amateur hour. Suddenly, Avery grabs my face in both hands and plants a kiss right on my cheek. Your reward just got better, she says with a grin. I glance down at her waist, so did the uniform. She punches my arm, still laughing. 3 days later, I walk into the Henson Marshall Pavilion carrying those secret mail path diagrams. Outside, a dark sedan with a green federal seal is lurking across the street. It stays put as Avery calls me over. She attacks before I can even finish folding the map. But I manage to block 2 fast kicks, grab her wrist, and sweep her down. Avery taps out. But the second I let go, she hooks my ankle and pins both my shoulders. Apparently, she changed her mind. The girl literally tapped, cheated her way out, and then had the absolute nerve to claim she won anyway. Absolute cheek. She holds me pinned, demanding the time and answers I promised her. Tatum got a protector, a jacket, and wife status, she complains. Before I can explain, she kisses me, stands up, and offers a hand. Finally, the battle is over. Fair and brutal. Over by the edge, she introduces Tobias Henson, her father, and the big boss of this place. The man looks at me like I am a piece of trashed family property. Those 3 pranksters walk up first. They bow low, apologizing for their stupid trap and their terrible sportsmanship. I make them repeat every single word directly to Avery. She accepts, but warns them of painful consequences next time. Then, Tobias calls me into a private sparring room. The door shuts, and he instantly judges my cheap clothes, my young age, and my soul sword necklace. You are rude, he snaps. You got rich too fast, he sneers, warning that his daughter won't be just another girl in my collection. He steps closer, declaring I am nothing without a real pedigree. If I want her, I must marry into the Henson family and obey his rules. I look him dead in the eye and decline, so he slaps me. My head snaps back. Dead silence. He raises his hand to strike again, but I catch his wrist midair. You only hit me because you think her name makes you untouchable, I growl. Go ahead, try that again. He swings his other hand, but I slam him hard against the wall. He breaks free, kicks my knee, and shatters a nearby weapon rack. Honestly, he is far stronger than those school kids, and smarter than Calvin's guards. He aims high. I read his shoulder, slip under, and launch him straight through a wooden table. And of course, the door flies open. Guess who is standing there to watch her proud dad scrambling out of the splintered wood? To save face, he charges again. I grab his collar, pivot, and slam him hard onto the mat before summoning my golden sword. The glowing blade stops right at his neck, freezing him solid. I will never crawl to join your family, I tell him. I refuse to let anyone put a price on my place next to Avery. Tobias looks to his daughter, whose face has gone completely still. She walks out before I even put the sword away. Outside, she blocks my path, furious that I refused her father's rules. Though I tell her I still choose her, her gaze remains sharp, forever, without any marriage. I do not know if marriage is for me, I admit, but I still want you forever. I just won't buy your father's permission. Besides, we can talk marriage once you accept Tatum as my second wife. She punches my shoulder hard enough to stumble me back. You are completely shameless, she fumes, arguing with me all the way to the front gate. Good. Arguing meant she was not actually leaving me. But before we reached the road, a senior mountain sect master drops from the trees, slamming the ground between us. She is here for bloody revenge after what I did to those brothers while rescuing Tatum. She points right at my golden necklace, demanding my secret technique if I want to keep this girl alive. I step right in front of Avery, telling this master she traveled pretty far just to steal my jewelry. At least pretend this is a date. Suddenly, she grabs my collar and drives a pressure strike straight into my shoulder. As Avery lunges, I shout at her to get back inside and fetch the strongest Henson fighter she can find. The master strikes the road, forcing her back through the gates. She needs my secrets, which means she needs me fully awake. I had to stall. So when she dragged me into a waiting car, I just told her to be careful. My fiancé gets pretty jealous. Just 2 blocks from the pavilion, a dark sedan suddenly cut us off. A fighter in green robes dropped right between us. Her face was completely covered, but I recognized the federal seal on her weapon. The sect master let me go and attacked her. Their first clash shattered the car window. The green fighter relied on fast bureau footwork. Meanwhile, the sect master threw heavy strikes, trying to grab me mid-fight. She kept herself positioned right between me and the street. Nobody was actually planning on letting me go just yet. They kept fighting over me, absolutely wrecking the car in the process. I flexed my numb hand and just waited. The sect master threw everything into a massive downward strike. As the green fighter blocked high, I fired a golden sword line right under their guard. It sliced right through. She froze, stared down at her chest, and slumped right next to the car. Now get this, my captor died arguing with the competition, and now this green fighter pointed a weapon at me. But then, she pulled off her face mask and yanked off a dark wig. Long blonde hair tumbled down over her shoulders. Eleanor Fairfax actually smiled. Turns out my official fiancé was a federal investigator in green robes, here to rescue her promised husband. That's what she said, but then she pointed that green-sealed weapon straight at my chest because I just killed her main suspect. She tossed 3 photos onto the dusty road. One had my auction badge, another showed my car dodging a roadblock. The last one caught my car outside the shooting scene. She accused me flat out you killed Gwen Kendall. I looked at her weapon and admitted she tracked me pretty well. She fired back that I bled pretty efficiently too. A folded cultivation diagram had dropped from my coat, which she grabbed while keeping her gun raised. Her face completely changed. This design could get me into Union National University, she noted, while also solving a secret problem she'd hidden for years. The gun muzzle dipped toward the diagram, but she kept her guard up. She offered to hold off the Callahans in federal custody if I examined her. Eleanor was giving me a perfect excuse. Her family needed her married off to someone outside their political circle. Instead of arguing, I offered her a combat pill with a 30% boost. Opening a metal case, she showed me 6 level 3 null rounds, much stronger than Gwen's. Too bad I didn't have a matching gun yet. I still really wanted that ammo. I handed her the pill, she slid me the case, and finally she lowered her gun for the treatment. A faint, pale scar ran down her cheek. I gently placed 2 fingers next to it, sending my aura deep into her damaged pathway. Check this out. Her skin smoothed completely, and she stared into the mirror, touching her newly softened cheek. She opened her mouth to speak but stopped, touching the healed skin once more. But then, I sensed some much deeper damage. The scar was cosmetic. But the real damage? One meridian route was completely bent out of place. This blocked pathway was her real injury. I told her someone had likely sabotaged her aura route, but I could fix it. She admitted she couldn't name the culprit as her anger surged, making the blocked channel violently snap back and push my hand away. I quickly grabbed her wrist and warned her to get mad later, since she almost closed that route forever. She just stared, breathless. Your family needs this union, and mine just wants control, I told her. Keep those Callahans off my back. I promised to finish her healing. Eleanor checked the newly smooth side of her face once more, then finally lowered her weapon completely. Before she left, Eleanor opened a slim case and placed a brand new Fairfax Patrol contract directly into my hands. The red seal was perfect, showing our names side by side. She mentioned I tore the first copy, so I should keep this reissue. That is the power of a noble family seal. I silently folded the paper and pocketed it. She left me with high-grade level 3 null ammunition, a restored contract, and a solid guarantee to keep my family at bay. But before midnight, a second call from my sister Jillian would turn my simple life completely upside down again. First, though, Eleanor's deal brought immediate consequences. Home at last. Then Avery sent a photo of the wreck, the dead master, and her own angry face. "Are you alive?" she texted. I replied yes, and she immediately shot back telling me to get back before she blames Tatum. Cruel. Effective. Over dinner, I assured Peter and Diane that Eleanor had flown out to buy us some crucial time. Diane spun the contract between her fingers, asking how much time we actually had. My mother wanted answers. I said we only had as long as my treatments remained valuable to Eleanor, who was now investigating my allies. This shield only worked while I stayed useful. Peter just pushed another plate of food my way. Dinner actually stayed peaceful for 5 whole minutes. A brand new family record. Then, I video called Jillian since she ghosted 3 straight texts. She picked up from a dark, messy room. Some guy was sitting right next to her, quickly dodging out of the camera view. I leaned toward the camera, telling her to let the man beside her know Jillian's boyfriend called. The young man immediately snapped back into view. Jillian almost dropped her phone, quickly telling him he is my brother. Then she glared at me, saying I need professional help. I told her I'm just screening applicants, while the guy kept worrying. He totally ignored his own embarrassment. Jillian refused to give his name, but she gladly accepted the cash I sent for food and travel. Shop responsibly, I told her. She just smiled. I am dating responsibly. The young guy stepped back into view and gently pulled a blanket over Jillian's shoulder. Surprisingly, she actually let him. The moment I asked if she was safe, he answered first and double-checked the locked door behind them. Jillian elbowed him, but did not kick him out. The next morning at school, the 3 boys behind the glue chair disaster bowed right by my desk. Boss, the tallest announced, teach us the male path. Just yesterday, they were only apologizing. Today, they promoted me without asking. Unfolding the diagram Eleanor saw, I warned them this is pure theory. No one forces aura until I prove it is safe. The shortest boy swore they would be careful. I pointed at the chair they once covered in industrial glue, saying their record says otherwise. After school, I put the tallest on a balance beam. He fell instantly. Down in 3 seconds, taking another boy with him. Balance only. No aura yet. All 3 cheered anyway. Jasper asked if joining required getting humiliated first, and I told him it apparently helps. Tatum Royce showed up at lunch with 2 milk teas. When her brother Colin reached for one, she quickly pulled it away. This one is Derek's, she said. Colin asked about the other, but Tatum pulled it closer, claiming it is also Derek's. See this? The walking red flag is marking territory with drinks. Before she reached me, a Henson family guard opened the door, asking me to step outside where Avery's parents waited in a black car. Her father still looked pretty bruised from our pavilion fight, but her mother was calm, which was somehow way worse. They let me sit down, then started judging my worth. Avery's mother called me reckless, ignorant of martial families, and a danger to her future. Her father claimed my formula was poisonous and my money was suspicious. I let them talk. Arrogant people always slip up. Her father leaned forward. He asked if I thought one public fight made me their equal. I looked at his bruise and said losing made him emotional. His face darkened in anger. Avery's mother quickly cut him off before he could embarrass himself even further. She brought up my family. End it, she demanded. She warned that businesses tied to Diane Callahan depend on suppliers they influence, meaning one call could ruin her next quarter. She finally named her target my mother's company. I opened the door. Threatening my mother was a terrible way to win me over. Avery reached the car before I could even step out, looking between her parents and me to ask what they said. I pulled her waist and kissed her right in front of them. Avery froze for half a second, then kissed me back even harder. Her father's hand gripped the door handle in rage, while her mother's calm mask finally cracked. I pulled back. We were just talking, I said. Avery turned. Discussion finished. Tatum watched from 10 feet away, slightly crushing both milk teas in her hands. Oh boy, the walking red flag now had caffeine and witnesses. Tatum hooked an arm around my waist, lifted me clean off the pavement, and carried me off toward her car. Put him down, Avery yelled. Tatum just opened the door. He walks when he learns manners. Looking at the 2 cups, I warned her she was spilling my ransom. Tatum shoved one into my hand and slammed the door shut. Inside the car, Tatum leaned across, telling me not to kiss other girls in front of her. I just held up the crushed milk tea. Pointing out she arrived during a threat, she tapped my chest, noting I still used my mouth. I replied I'm versatile under pressure. Tatum's glare almost softened into a smile as I explained exactly what Avery's mother had threatened regarding Diane's suppliers. The crushed cup stopped. She demanded to know which suppliers, but I admitted I didn't know yet. Just when we think we have a plan, Jillian calls, and her voice sounds incredibly weak. She apologized to Mom and Dad before a loud strike hit near the phone. Jillian gasped, and another woman took over. She calmly told me to come to Velvet Hour, 67th floor, in 30 minutes. Come alone, Derek Callahan. Show up late, and you can collect her body, she warned, hanging up. I immediately bolted from Tatum's car. 27 minutes later, I stepped inside Velvet Hour, the underworld venue Jillian kept hidden. The elevator screen showed 67 floors. Treating every red light as a countdown, the top doors finally opened onto a guarded hall with a glowing red service sign. The guards stepped aside the second they heard my name, one of them checking the timer on her phone. I got there with 3 minutes left. No search. No one found the sword necklace under my shirt. That felt worse than an actual trap. It was like the boss on the top floor wanted me armed and angry. Jillian was tied to a chair right beneath a massive chandelier. Her cheek was swollen and bleeding from her mouth. The protective jade ward I gave her lay shattered on the floor, spent after just one blow. The playing was over. A veiled woman stood near the window. Serena Huxley owned Velvet Hour and ran Granite Bay Underworld so tightly that the guards held their breath watching her hands. Serena lightly touched a fresh red handprint on her cheek and told me my sister used to work here. Serena said she got slapped when bringing her back. Jillian raised her head. I told her to stay down. Even bound, she fought back. That mark on her face proved it. I immediately summoned my soul sword and lunged straight at Serena. She caught my wrist before the golden blade touched her veil. Her palm slammed my chest, throwing me into a pillar, landing me on one knee. Jillian struggled against her ropes, shouting for me to stop. Serena had beaten her so badly that she wanted me to run. That hurt worse than the strike. I stood up anyway. The power gap between us was pretty clear. This woman was stronger than anyone in town. But watch this, I popped a pill to boost my power by 30%. I closed the gap again, splitting my sword into 3 separate golden lines to strike from different angles. Serena dodged once and 2 strikes missed. She caught the third barehanded, then slammed her knee straight into my ribs. I blocked just enough to stay awake, but the floor under my feet shattered. Time to change my tactics. My next strike hit the chandelier chain instead of Serena. Shattered crystal rained down between us, and I lunged past it toward the guard holding Jillian captive. But Serena got there first. She grabbed my collar, spun, and slammed me right back into that same pillar. My pill made me fast, but she was still faster. Serena tilted her head and wiped blood from my lip. You hit my sister, she said, with all amusement suddenly gone. She finally explained how Jillian got mixed up with the Winslow heir, the son of a pretty powerful local family. His family wanted the romance stopped, so they hired Serena to drag Jillian back and settle the debt. Pointing at her bruised cheek, she said my sister added interest. I demanded she send her home, so Serena named her price. $300 million. I offered 20 spirit stones instead. Instantly, her guards looked at me totally differently. The guard near Jillian stopped laughing. Serena stood up, agreeing 20 stones would clear the dispute, but Jillian shook her head. She begged me not to pay, but seeing her loose wrist ropes, I whispered I was just buying us time. Her veil shifted with a smile as she stepped close to lift my chin, offering to clear the debt for one night together. Her ransom was basically slavery. I stopped talking, but watch how I pretend to actually consider her insane offer. She ordered a guard to untie Jillian, which was my perfect opening. Then Serena scooped me up and carried me toward her private room. I stared at Jillian loosening rope and demanded she put me down. Inside the side room, Serena pulled a syringe from a silver case. That ended all talks as my soul sword flashed. I sliced the syringe in half, kicked off her chest, and launched 2 golden energy lines to shatter the hallway lights. Pitch blackness fell. A third slash cut Jillian free, and I grabbed her before the guards could even grab their flashlights. I scooped her up into my arms and bolted straight for the emergency exit stairwell I noted earlier. A golden blade sliced the lock shut as the heavy steel door slammed. Serena reached the frame just before it locked. Watching me escape with Jillian, she yelled that I still owed her 20 stones, her voice sounding incredibly amused by the chase. She lost her hostage but apparently found a brand new hobby. Down on the street, Jillian clung tightly to my neck. She whispered that I carried her out like a princess. Adjusting her weight, I told her she was very welcome. I told her I thought she was the princess, mocking that trauma had warped her judgment. Her laugh sounded painful, but at least she laughed. Still, Serena wanted 20 stones, and the Winslows still controlled the guy my sister loved. With Jillian safe, the next move was clear: infiltrate the Winslow estate. That night, Peter opened the door to see her in my arms. His face turned completely pale as I lied, claiming the police had raided Velvet Hour and rescued her during the bust. Jillian played along with a tired nod. Peter stared at her bruises, swallowed his burning questions, and slowly nodded back. Then he asked if this mess was tied to my mother company, making me freeze halfway up the stairs. Diane had been sleeping at her office because major clients were canceling orders and workers were being sent home. Out of nowhere, a major supplier froze deliveries. Jillian was safe, but my mom's company took the full hit. Peter's slip sent me to her office before any more clients backed out, only to find half the desks empty. A canceled order flashed on the screen, tracing back directly to the hostile Henson supplier network. Suddenly, the secretary blocks my path, claiming Miss Callahan does not take visits from random, distant nephews. especially handsome ones looking for a handout, but then Diane steps out, revealing she is my mother. The receptionist spins. My mother points directly to the elevator. "You are fired." She just stares. Diane did not hesitate. The woman assumed my family was poor enough to disrespect. As the woman tries to argue, my mom keeps her finger pointed without blinking until she leaves. With the room clear, she drags me inside her office and locks the door. I explain Jillian was taken by a Winslow heir and the police report is fake. I keep Serena's dark bargain a secret to save her more nightmares. Hearing this, my mom grips her desk. "You went into Velvet Hour alone?" "Yes." Her grip tightens, pointing out I am only 18, her shaking hand grabbing a glass. "Tatum dragged you into Marshall family mess, and now you think you can fight them all." Without a single touch, I telekinetically pull the water from her cup, letting it spiral over the desk to the cancelled contract. I split the liquid into 6 hovering spheres, then drop it back down. My mother freezes. I slowly levitate the sharp metal letter opener, letting it float right next to the water. "I am already in this world, so stop hiding threats." She looks at the water, then at me. She pulls out the protective amulet I gave her, noting her husband claimed it was just a temple charm. He worries less with simple lies. Clutching the jade, she asks if I can really protect Jillian. I saved her from Serena, the Winslows are just the next obstacle. Slipping the amulet on, she slides the cancelled contract forward, asking what our family can do, her hand suddenly steady. Before we can speak, Tatum Royce walks in with breakfast, casually greeting my mother. She calls her mother-in-law unbelievable. My mom nearly drops her glass as Tatum slides the file. She located the 2 suppliers the Hensons blocked, promising the Royce family can cover both and secure the next shipments. Skimming the papers, Diane sees one shipment leaves today, and the next goes tomorrow. Suddenly, Diane's phone rings with confirmation that a Royce cargo truck is already loading up, making my mom sit up. Asking how fast, Diane listens as Tatum repeats the timeline, earning a stunned look from my mother. When asked why, Tatum calls it a family investment. I instantly speak up. She means future daughter-in-law candidate. Tatum just smiles, teasing that I babble when I am nervous. Flirting while saving our company is terrifyingly efficient. I show Tatum one of Eleanor's level 3 null rounds. "I need a gun built for this power, something small enough to carry into the Winslow estate." She rolls the round. "You are breaking in?" I point toward their district. I am asking for permission first. Tatum compares my round with a standard federal bullet. I prefer prepared conversations. Tatum promises the gun, then spots a text preview from Avery on my screen. This walking red flag grabs my tie, watch this, dragging me straight into her private bathroom. She shuts the door, angry. I kissed Avery. I shrug. They threaten my mother. Jabbing my chest, she asks if I punished them with my mouth. It was available, I tell her. "Use it on me," she demands. I take my bullet back. "Bring the gun first." Her offended face is priceless. She kisses my cheek anyway, promises the gun, and leaves, calling Diane mother-in-law one more time. Tatum fixed the shipments, but the real pressure is infiltrating the Winslow family to save Jillian. That afternoon, I parked 2 streets away from the massive Winslow estate. High walls, cameras, and rotating guards cover every entrance as a delivery truck stops. Guards search every compartment, making the driver lift mats while scanning the roof. Up on the balcony, an older woman looks down, making every guard instantly snap to attention. She radiates a power far heavier than Serena ever did. Breaking this gate would take one sword strike. But the elite family inside could destroy mine, so I watched silently instead of charging in. Avery tracked me down by the car after I pushed her for answers. She showed up completely alone, blocking my path to the estate. Her voice shook as she explained that her mother had threatened Diane's company, and she only found out this morning. She muted her buzzing phone, refusing to leave. I told her I believed her, but her eyes never left the mansion. Sympathy won't fix this. Action will. Avery grabbed my hand, telling me to use her. "Man, talk about dangerous wording." She squeezed my fingers hard enough to punish my teasing, then named the 2 powerhouses who could stop me, starting with the hidden elder guarding the grounds. The matriarch ruled the heir, the estate, and every marriage. Avery warned that entering by force was suicide. The elder would crush me before I even reached the house. So that night, I visited Mara Lell, the genius hacker who could blind their security. At Mara's apartment, she answered in sleep shorts, a massive shirt, and enough messy pink hair to hide a gun. She just leaned against the frame, looking exhausted. She teased that I only show up to rob rich people. I cut straight to the point. I need cameras, alarms, layouts, and guard schedules. No flowers, but I brought a federal bullet. Real romantic. Once inside, Mara instantly pulled up the live security grid for the Winslow estate. Red lights flagged the active alarms. She warned me that cracking this would take hours, and their guards would still be wide awake. "That's plenty," I told her. "Just kill the cameras and I will deal with the guards." Mara spun into her chair and got to work. Suddenly, the front door clicked open. Tatum walked in using the spare key Mara gave her back when I was bleeding out from Gwen's bullet. First she spotted me near the chair. Then she saw Mara's bare legs under that oversized shirt. Tatum flashed her emergency key. Mara just pointed at the screens, exposing my break-in. Tatum snapped that I always protect Mara. Mara pointed out that I also keep getting shot, so I told them I'm versatile. Absolutely furious, Tatum chucked the key straight out the open kitchen window and stormed out. Mara just watched it fly into the dark. I blamed Mara for giving my spare key to a walking red flag. Mara threw up her hands, arguing she was trying to keep me alive. Fair point. Suddenly, a deafening gunshot shattered the quiet hallway. The bullet slammed into the empty door frame, thankfully missing us both completely. Tatum stood out in the hall holding a compact black pistol, smoke slowly drifting from the barrel. Tatum called out that she aimed low to ruin my dating life. Mara scrambled behind her desk, yelling that this was definitely not an emergency. I marched over, snatched the gun from Tatum, and popped the magazine out before she could find another dramatic angle to shoot from. One of Eleanor's level 3 rounds was chambered. On the frame, I spotted the exact green federal seal found on Elite Bureau weapons. Somehow, Tatum had tracked down the exact weapon I wanted. Mara peeked out from behind her desk, staring at the specialized firearm. Mara gasped that I had just asked for that today. Tatum looked at us, claiming she completed the request by threatening my life. Your methods are terrifying, but the result is perfect, I told her. Tatum's shoulders visibly stiffened in response. I inspected the chamber as if she had just shot my birthday present through the wall. You actually found it, I said. Tatum stared, saying she only shot at my dignity. I replied that she missed, but successfully completed the mission. She literally shot through a door to hand me my dream weapon. I absolutely hated her crazy methods, but loved the hardware. Tatum claimed her car broke down, even though Mara's security feeds clearly showed it idling peacefully outside. Needless to say, she stayed. First, Tatum brought water, then skewers, and finally a chair she jammed directly between Mara and me. Every time Mara unlocked a camera, Tatum pestered me about being hungry, cold, or secretly married. Mara finally spun around, asking if she should hack the estate or supervise our chaotic relationship. Pick one, Mara demanded. Tatum opened more food and muttered multitask. I grabbed Tatum by the wrist, dragging her outside. When she reached for the handle again, I slapped her hand away and pointed down the hall. Let me work. Tatum's voice dropped as she complained that I always choose Mara's apartment. I dragged her into the elevator, heading down to her supposedly broken car. Once inside, Tatum grabbed my collar and kissed me hard. I held her shoulders, stopping her. Are you done shooting and choosing for me? I asked. She nodded, yes. Do you still want this? Tatum nodded, saying yes, so I kissed her back. Our fight melted into a very mutual, very private makeup session. The windows completely fogged up and yep, that is all the detail you guys are getting. Afterwards, Tatum rested her forehead against mine. She admitted she was terrified of losing me, pointing out that Avery gets public kisses while Mara gets my safe haven when hurt. Eleanor gets a business contract, but you get me, I told her. You only lose me when you treat my choices like mere decoration. Tatum nodded once. I sent her on her way so Mara could finally finish hacking the estate. Tatum slapped my shoulder through her open car window before taking off, yelling that if I play hard to get, I owe her the whole city as a wedding gift. I stared up at the glowing lights of the Winslow estate. Honestly, that might actually be possible. Tatum drove off with a smirk. Upstairs, Mira was already dissecting the estate security systems. The gun was officially in play. Avery had warned me about the final 2 guards. No backup. From here on, I was completely alone. Back in Mira's place, she confirmed the Winslow security grid was compromised. The cameras were stuck in a loop, but the guards inside still had eyes, fists, and family pride. I summoned my soul sword mask and loaded 1 level 3 null round into Tatum's gun. With the blind spot cleared, I slipped right over the Winslow wall on Mira's signal. Mira's voice buzzed in my ear. The east camera loops for 90 seconds. After that, you are on live television. I am always expensive, but standing in a tree wearing a gold mask, I definitely looked like a final boss. My body still needed some major upgrades. I dropped down, grabbed a stone ledge, and held my breath as 2 guards passed right below. One guard was gossiping about the air being locked up. The other complained the night watch had doubled because Serena lost Jillian. My rescue mission had already shaken things up. Good. Let them sweat a little. Avery's warnings kept me off the main path. I slipped through the east garden, past a disabled camera, and reached the guest wing just in time. It looked peaceful because wealthy families loved wrapping their violence in beautiful gardens. A side courtyard pointed the way. Found it. Jillian's jacket hung behind a carved bench. Next to it was a photo strip of her and the Winslow heir laughing together. In the final frame, he kissed her forehead by a 4-pane window. That exact window was right at the end of the guest wing. The photo just gave away his room. But wait, here's the real test. Would the heir step up when family got ugly? Above me, a porcelain cup trembled on a balcony. The Winslow elder, that terrifying Master Avery had warned me about, was standing there with a maid. The guards downstairs wouldn't even look at her. Her breathing carried a level of aura control that completely eclipsed Serena. Suddenly, the elder stopped mid-step. She told the maid someone had entered the East Garden. Even though Mira had blinded the cameras, just a tiny thread of my aura had disturbed her tea. I quickly sealed my meridians, pressed against the ledge, and stopped breathing. The elder stared straight toward my hiding spot. Freeze. Her cup rattled again. Without even using the stairs, she stepped right off the balcony. Her aura floated her down 12 feet, silent and controlled, directly into the garden. Mira's voice cracked through the earbud Derek. She is completely out of camera range. The screens were useless. As a guard approached, the elder simply raised her hand. The man instantly froze in place without her even touching him. I pressed my finger against the cold stone, quietly sending a tiny sword thread slipping through the grass. It flicked a loose pebble into the far gutter. The elder turned toward the sharp sound for just a second. I moved. Following that 4-pane window from the photo, I found the locked room at the back. I sliced the latch, slipped inside, and shut the door. The Winslow heir stood by the glass. He was a well-dressed kid under house arrest, which is just a fancy way to punish your son for having opinions. He saw my mask and reached for the alarm. I caught his wrist instantly. "Where is Jillian?" he demanded. "Did my mother take her again?" His very first question was about my sister. A good start. I took off the mask. "I am Derek Callahan, Jillian's brother, and she is safe." The heir slumped against the wall. He covered his face, took a breath, and desperately asked where Serena had hurt her and if she could walk. I gave him the truth. She was beaten. Carried her home. She still insulted me the whole way. Genuine relief washed over him. "That sounds like her," he muttered, grabbing my sleeve to demand I take him to her. I asked him one heavy question first. "Did you use her to hurt your family?" The heir let go as if I had physically struck him. "My mother locked me here because I refused Avery Henson," he said. "Our parents arranged that marriage without us," he said, pulling a packed travel bag out from beneath the bed. Inside were just normal clothes and cash, not a single piece of family jewelry. He had this ready before I even arrived. "I love Jillian," he said. "Tonight, I am abandoning the Winslow name." He opened a drawer crammed with Jillian's old texts, wrinkled train tickets, letters, and small trinkets worn down from constant handling. He saved everything. He slammed the jewelry drawer shut without a second glance. His hands only trembled when he asked if my sister had eaten yet. Seriously, that did more for his case than the entire family fortune. My sister actually found a rich guy willing to throw away his fortune, safety, and sanity for her. Incredibly on brand. I slid the mask back on. "You are way too soft for Jillian." He just smiled, admitting she says that too. "Perfect, the kid might survive." The heir grabbed his bag and headed for the window, but I blocked his path. Running would make Jillian a fugitive. Expose Peter and Diane, forcing the matriarch to face the truth. Now, go cause a massive distraction for 30 minutes. I told the heir to draw the elder and the guards toward the west wing while I went to speak with his mother. The young heir glanced toward the door. He warned me she wouldn't listen, so I told him she could refuse me to my face. Smiling for once, he mentioned Jillian called me impossible. I joked that she was just being affectionate. The heir agreed, grabbing one of my sister's hair ties from the desk and wrapping it around his wrist. He told me to tell her he didn't fold, so I promised to say he finally became useful. With that, he bolted out in the opposite direction. 5 minutes later, the West Wing alarms went off. Glass shattered. Someone screamed that the heir had escaped onto the roof. As every single guard scrambled, I slipped into the private passage leading straight to the matriarch. Suddenly, a towel-wrapped Winslow family member stepped out of a bath suite and grabbed my sleeve. Spotting my mask, she scanned me and smirked as if the security system had just served up free entertainment, asking who exactly had sent me. I yanked my arm back and told her it was a bad time, but she just reached for my mask to see my face. She even tried to kiss me while pulling it up, so I headbutted her. She collapsed against the door, completely out, while I fixed my mask. "Still like it," I muttered. No answer. The attraction had died on impact. I quickly crossed the courtyard and scaled a tree overlooking the main house. The Winslow elder appeared below with her maid. A guard quickly reported the heir's chaotic escape. She bought the bait and headed west. Talk about a perfect distraction, but now the 30-minute countdown was officially on. With the elder lured away, I slipped across the final courtyard and stepped right into the matriarch's private sanctuary. The Winslow matriarch was sitting by a low table, quietly reading without even bothering to look up as I entered. She ruled this entire estate, her son's life, and the family backing Serena. Looking up once, she told me to leave, but I just closed the door. I explained I came for her blessing. She set her reading down, stating I entered masked, so I pulled the mask off. Introducing myself as Derek Callahan, I told her that her son wants to marry my sister, Jillian. Her gaze instantly sharpened before freezing over again. She didn't touch the alarm, and no guards entered. She simply stated my sister was completely unsuitable. Leaning on the table, I countered that her son disagreed. She tapped her page, saying he was locked up because he mistook rebellion for love. I argued he was ready to leave everything for her. Her fingers just rested quietly beside her teacup. She called him more foolish than she believed. Keeping my voice steady, I told her Serena Huxley kidnapped Jillian on her family's orders. I saved her, I added, warning her that the upcoming fight would reach both our houses. The matriarch quietly studied me. She muttered that Serena had disobeyed her. Outside, the West Wing alarm went dead, leaving the room quiet enough to hear her set her cup down. I waited in silence. She calmly revealed Serena was ordered to kill Jillian, and keeping her alive was just an annoying inconvenience. Stepping closer, I warned her that Serena actually saved her from starting in direct war with me. Her eyes turned stone cold. I demanded she let my sister go and allow the marriage, since they had both chosen each other. Pulling out my compact pistol, I aimed a level 3 null round straight at her. She glanced at the green federal seal, then at the chamber. Whispering level 3, she lunged forward before I could even voice my threat. She instantly slapped my gun away and into the wall. But watch this, because I immediately unleashed my golden sword. The matriarch bypassed my guard instantly, shattering my stance with a single palm strike that sent me crashing straight through a wooden screen. I used the crash to slip a hidden sword thread right under the rug, the exact delayed strike that took down the federal envoy. As she stepped in, I yanked the wire toward her ankle, but she calmly lifted her foot an inch to let the gold line pass. She had actually read my trap just by watching my fingers. Rolling away, I raised 2 more threads and aimed directly beneath her feet. Stepping effortlessly between them, she forced me to flip the blade to my left hand and lunge at her open guard. But she instantly caught the flat of my blade with her bare palm, redirecting my momentum to lock my elbow. She slammed my shoulder, throwing me across the room as my soul sword flickered out. My ribs refused to draw a full breath, and I had only barely survived Serena earlier using a combat pill. She had totally dismantled my best weapon without taking a single scratch, standing over me to say that for an 18-year-old, I was unusually impressive, but praise from the woman who ordered my sister dead meant absolutely nothing to me. Dragging myself up onto one knee, I knew the gun had failed and the sword had failed. She just stared down silently. Slipping my hand inside my jacket, I announced that I held a Fairfax patrol contract, making her hand freeze above her tea. I slapped the restored Fairfax document onto the broken table, its seal resting right beside my name, and she grabbed it herself. She stood tall before even reading a single line, carefully holding the prestigious seal in both hands as she unrolled the document. Her eyes darted from the gold seal to the Callahan name, then locked onto my face, her fingers tensing against the paper. Leaving her tea completely untouched, the Winslow matriarch slowly looked up.